with Pittsburgh. His roommate in college helped negotiate.
All right, folks, we are back with Seminole Sideline 365. Thanks for being with us. We are here in a little live reaction on the Sunday. We typically don't do this, but obviously we want to do it around the playoff selection show. And I think we're here on a bit of on a somber note. Florida State being announced that they are out of the playoffs. They will not be moving forward. They are number 5. They were ranked number 5 of the number 5. Alabama leaps them to get into the playoff picture.
You have the chart. You can throw it up.
Yeah, they
as nasty as it is, and as nasty as it looks. This is a downer. This is the first downer that we've had in the entire season, because it's not about losing. We didn't lose in Florida with a backup quarterback. We didn't lose in Louisville at the ACC championship in Charlotte last night. We didn't lose any games the entire season, KB. We're 13-0, and that's not good enough when you control, as we say, control your business. Take care of business. You'll be okay. Win and you're in. Well, guess what? Win and you're not in because of bullshit decisions that are made by some committee, okay, in some big, large room. And they all sat around yesterday and last night watching the games together. I bet that was fun, and Florida State in the end gets totally screwed because of the criteria, which I think it's the final mission statement of the committee. Well, if something changes of significance to a team, I guess with Harbaugh being out for 6 games, that doesn't mean anything. He was out 6 games a year on a cheating scandal, which basically they basically accepted a penalty for because they weren't going to fight it. What does that tell us? That son of a bitch, Jim Harbaugh and Michigan, are in the playoffs. And I hope they get their asses beat and handed to them by somebody, because they don't deserve to be there with a cheating scandal with an investigation by the NCAA still ongoing. But Florida State is sent packing after 2 gritty victories with a second and third string quarterbacks and then a lights out performance by their defense the last 2 weeks. Not good enough. There's more to this shit. It's about TV. It's about money. It's about the SEC. And that's what it's about. Who travels? What money is going to be paid? That's what this shit's about. And it's a shame. It's a real shame. And now all the commentators, we feel bad for Florida State. I feel like we're at a funeral. I feel like we're at the wake.
They don't feel bad because the entire game.
No, but I'm saying that's what they're saying. Wait a minute. That's what they're saying.
Was them posturing to get Florida State out of the playoffs.
Exactly.
The entire broadcast, Greg McElroy and his little sidekick, all they were talking about is why Florida State shouldn't be in the playoff last night. I had to mute the game because it was so bad in ESPN commentary last night. Basically,
Joe Testator in his triple-breasted suit. All they talked about the whole second half, you're right, was about the playoffs and the playoff committee.
Had Alabama.
What a bunch of bullshit that was.
If they're watching this, how could they put Florida State into the? And they were just posturing for the other teams. And first of all, I want to say is, as bad as we feel bad, I feel bad for the players. I feel bad for those guys who have worked their ass off all season, gone through the adversity of losing Jordan Travis, being banged up, fighting through injuries, and all they've done the last 3 weeks to fight through everything, to not lose a game, to cover the point spreads. They covered the point spread last night. They covered the point spread at Florida. They've done their job on the field, undefeated, and then they have to sit in the room and watch themselves not make the playoff. They controlled everything they needed to control. They went in and took care of LSU opening week of the year, dominated them. And everyone seems to forget about that. What else did this team have to do? And that's who I feel bad for. We can all feel bad for ourselves and so on, but I feel bad for those players who did everything right. They did everything right on the field, and they get punished for it. And that's the thing about this whole criteria of, and I think and I want to throw up a clip real quick because I think someone who illustrates this, RG3 said it best in the pregame show, and he said it right. And I want to play this clip real quick.
Higher resume, the impact of Jordan Travis.
I mean, the impact of Jordan Travis, like you said, he's a Heisman level quarterback. That's going to be significant for him. But what I would say to you, Dan, is when you look at Florida State in totality, is Jordan Travis out? It hurt their defense? No, it hurt their defense. The defense hasn't given up 30 points all year to anybody. Right. All right. You talk about them in that ACC championship. Well, their offense had more yards than Michigan had in their Big Ten championship game. Right. So are we punishing Michigan because they just didn't have a good offensive performance? We're not. So for Florida State, you don't punish the other 100 kids on that team and the coaches and the fan base and everything with the ACC involved, even though the ACC had a 6-4 record against the SEC this year in non-conference. But nobody wants to talk about that because we got to have an SEC team.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
You can stop it there. I mean,
They earn the right.
In the college football
Yeah, you can stop
Yeah.
it.
resume, they had 0 losses in the ACC, a Power 5 conference.
There you go. He said it all right. He said that's all the facts right there. Conference is 6-4 against the SEC. Florida State beat 2 SEC teams. Why are we punishing the entire roster because one guy is hurt? They still took care of business without him on the field. They did their job. And as he said, it's almost like we have to have one SEC school in the playoffs by rule almost. It's sickening. RG3, as much as I've made fun of him, I don't like him as a commentator, he laid out the facts there perfectly. I couldn't have said it better than he did.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And he's not the only one saying that. This is a conspiracy to make sure there's an SEC team in there. Well, guess what? They got 2 now. Texas is coming to the SEC next season, and they get Alabama in there. They got to have Lou Saban in there. They Nick Saban in there, and it's the same old shit. Okay, they had to have Georgia or Alabama. One of those 2 was going to be in there, and that's what they want. This is a conspiracy between TV, the viewership, the big purse money, and this is another reason. I don't want to get into today, but Florida State needs to get the hell out of the ACC.
Yep.
This is total disrespect. You tell me I'm wrong, or someone out there tell me. This is total disrespect for the ACC. The ACC should be on the air all freaking day and week saying this is bullshit.
Yep.
And not couching the words, because it's not only Florida State got screwed, the ACC got totally screwed on this. Period. And I don't want to hear funeral remarks. We're sorry for your loss. When you go to a funeral, that's all you hear. Sorry for your loss. Well, everybody, even the guys who are against Florida State are now, well, we're sorry that, you had a great season, but it just didn't work out. Okay? It's all crap, man. Yeah. It's all crap. And I'm, as you said, it's the players who put everything on the line. You don't think this week that they knew probably Tate wasn't going to play, the ball would be given to Brock Glenn, and that defense, as I said earlier, I said it's not about the quarterback position. It's about the offensive line and the defense. That's what I said. It came down to that defense. That defense played lights out. You don't think they're hurting today, sitting there now?
They shouldn't even played the game last night. I don't know why we even played the game. I don't know why Florida State was in the top 4 leading into the game. If all these factors about, well, game-changing player is not available, why was Florida State in the rankings in the top 4 last week?
That's right. Why were they ranked?
What changed from this week to last week?
That's right. It should have totally changed when Jordan Travis went down then, given their philosophy.
Given that philosophy, they should have dropped out 3 spots.
You know why? Why? Because the rest of the games over Saturday didn't quite work out the way they wanted it to. If Georgia wins, there's no argument here. See, there's no argument here. Well, there could have been. Who the hell knows? Because the SEC has always been that golden child. And they always will be. And that's why Florida State, in the long run here, must make a run to get to the Big Ten or the ACC, because now this is the final nail in that coffin for the ACC. You're in a dying conference that's not respected anymore.
Yeah.
You're not respected.
This is the Alabama team that, scraped by against South Florida.
Barely beat Auburn.
Scraped by against Texas A&M by 6 points. South Florida by 14 points.
Right.
Tennessee by 14. Kentucky, Chattanooga at the end of the year. Auburn by a miracle Hail Mary. When we talk about the eye test and scheduling stuff like that, it breaks my mind that this Alabama team has to get in, but they have to, right? It's Nick Saban has to get in the champ. He has to have a shot at it. They have to have that brand in there, and it's ridiculous. And this is why, to that point, this is why I love Booger and what he stood up for Florida State. And I love this clip and what he said in this.
Yeah, turn it up too, max it out.
If it were about the best 4 teams, why are we playing the games? Let's just do a beauty pageant, build a runway, and have every team walk down the runway and we judge them. This is not a beauty pageant. This is about wins and losses. It has to matter. If it were about the best.
Exactly. If it's the best, just have them all walk down the runway and we'll pick them out. We'll pick the best.
It's the eye test, right? The eye test.
It's about wins and losses, as he said. It's about wins and losses. There is only a team with a loss on the record, and it's Alabama. That's the only team with a loss in the playoffs right now, right? But it doesn't matter, though. Scheduling doesn't matter. Games don't matter. Championships don't matter.
No. Texas has a loss, too.
Oh, you're right. Texas has a loss.
There's two one-loss teams ahead of Florida State. You couldn't have any more disrespect than Booger, who is an Alabama grad. He's an Alabama guy. He sees the players' viewpoint on this. The committee... And he even said about Alabama, well, their quarterback, what's the guy's name? Milrose, whatever.
Yeah, Jalen Milrose.
Oh, well, he wasn't the same quarterback up front when they lost the game. Well, that's fine. You're using that as an excuse. Well, we're a little bit different team on offense now, but we still won. Mike Norvell, staff, crew, operations, and players found ways to win the game. It didn't have to be 50-0. It was 16-6. And you know what? If it was 50-6, would that have mattered? Would that have mattered? Yeah. Okay, so you're telling teams you got to go out and kill people, literally. But Booger McFarland has been the biggest supporter of Florida State to date that I've seen, and his arguments are very sound. This is much more than about playing the games, KB. This is more about money. And that's what it is. And it's a shame. It's a shame. I'm sorry, Booger went to LSU. Okay. He went to LSU.
And it doesn't. Good point. And to that point, it doesn't matter.
Thank you, Phoenix, for correcting me. It's an SEC, but thank you for correcting me.
Out on their schedule, and they still wouldn't have gone in. It doesn't matter. Florida State could have blown. Florida State destroyed LSU. Destroyed them like nobody on this earth has this season. Held them to the least amount of points they've had the entire year, even SEC opponents. It doesn't matter. They went out on a limb and scheduled their week 1 opponent against a top 5 team, who LSU was at the time. It doesn't matter. If they would have lost that game, they would have had zero shot at this. But Texas and Alabama played. Texas does the same thing. They schedule Alabama. And they win that game. Alabama loses it, but Alabama loses and they still have a shot because they get lucky and they win the SEC championship.
I don't get this comment. We appreciate you coming in, but I don't understand your comment. Had FSU won bigger margin last night, that's why they played the game last night. I don't understand your statement or question. Please clarify.
They covered the spread. They covered the spread.
Yeah, we covered this. No, I said we'd win by 10 points, and we did win by 10 points. The spread was
a 1.5.
1.5. We
by 10.
10 times the margin.
With a third-string quarterback. I mean, the guy had
against another quarterback who had 36 starts.
I mean, I don't know what people were expecting last night.
Yeah.
And they kneeled the ball down. It wasn't like Louisville was driving to win the game. Florida State kneeled the ball and won the game. I mean, I don't know. Even if we had blown out Louisville by 15 or 16, this still happens. This was calculated by the playoff committee.
Of course it was.
Didn't watch Michigan because you're saying the comment says if we would have won by a bigger point margin, we had more yards last night than Michigan did. Michigan has all their starters. They have their starting running back. They have their starting quarterback. We had more total yards with a third-string quarterback than Michigan had against Iowa. They scored 26. We scored, 16?
Right. And our margin.
And they're number one.
Our margin of spread was 10 times the margin. 10 times the margin.
Michigan didn't get negative points because they had only 220 yards of offense last night. Why didn't they get negatively penalized for playing like they did last night? Huh?
Yeah.
Why is that? Why does Michigan slide by along with the cheating?
The cheating. It's an open cheating scandal.
Recruiting penalties as well as in-game recruiting penalties. 6 games. Why are they not being penalized in this? Is there no criteria for how you conduct yourselves as a coaching staff
because
or as a program?
Because they'll bring 80,000 people to the stadium wherever they're going to play. That's what it's about. They'll bring what they believe to be bigger viewership because it's Michigan and Big Blue. Let's tell this like we do, what it is. It is no longer about wins and losses and who you play and all this other analytics. The All-State playoff indicator prediction before the show came out said Florida State would be in the top 4, 97% chance on the criteria that had been done in the past. 97% chance, and I have the receipt on that. I have a picture. You don't need to find it, but 97% chance. I was shocked that it was that high. So the committee defied the odds. They took the 3% and put Florida State out. And everybody's sad about that. All the analysts were very sad. Even Kirk,
he's been going against Florida State for the last 3 years.
Yeah, and I feel bad for the players. No, you don't, you piece of shit. You don't feel bad for anybody. This is what, did you see him and who was his buddy there jumping around when Alabama scored that late touchdown? And they're jumping around like 2 little kids because that's who they want in there.
Yeah.
The thing is rigged. It's rigged. It looks rigged is what it does.
It does, because let's take a look at Michigan's schedule. Who did they play all year?
Nobody.
They had East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana.
It's a
Michigan
joke.
State. What ranked teams did they play until Penn State, who's garbage?
Penn State's
Maryland.
garbage.
They played 2 games the entire year.
That's it.
What's their eye test? What got them into the rank 1 spot to begin with, along with all the other BS we talked about? And then having 200 yards of offense last night.
And JJ McCarthy, look at his column. It's not like he lights it up a lot.
No, this is the stats for last night. 147 yards.
I can't wait till they get their ass beat. I really can't wait till they get their ass beat.
Why are they not being? They just skate along. Corrupt head coach, no offense. They just skate along with 213 yards of total offense last night. Not penalized, but Florida State's the one under the microscope.
All season they've been under as we started to win and we got into the 9-0, 10-0. Nobody's, but all of a sudden the committee starts to weigh in, and it's a travesty.
So
this is a travesty, and I think Mike Norvell he's going to have a lot to say. Okay, you take the gloves off, Mike. You don't come out there and wishy-wash with coach talk, because your players aren't going to respect you if you do. You've got to lay it out, and you've got to lay it out big. You don't give a shit at this point because the season's over. The bowl game that you're going to get put into, the Magic 6 bowl games. Now, guess what? A lot of players in Florida State may not play in that game. It's worthless.
They should accept it. I think they should.
Let's go to that. What's your thoughts on not accepting the bowl game?
I think, and I'll share it. And this was tough to see. So you can see they post. I hate that they did this, but this was their reaction to hearing the news. And you can see the players are upset, but you can see Mike. Mike is, and I think there's 2 options on the table. I think that you protest the bowl and you say we're not accepting this. or you show up and you don't take the field. You accept it, you prepare for it, but you don't take the field and you screw over the networks. Because if you protest the bowl and you say we don't accept the invite, some other ACC team gets it, right?
Yeah, Louisville, that mighty Louisville team would go.
But I say you accept the invite, you prepare for it, then you don't take the field. You screw the networks, you screw everybody. You say, oh, we'll be there. We're coming. We prepared.
Yeah, walk out, practice, and then leave the field.
And you
walk
refuse
off.
to take the field. And then you refuse to take, and you screw ESPN, you screw the network, you screw everybody. You say, here's the middle finger. You left us out. We're going to leave you hanging on this with all your commercials, you everybody. That's what I would do. That would be my middle finger to everybody, the conferences, the networks, everybody. Accept the invite. We're ready. We'll get our practices in, because the big thing is you want those practices, you want those, your players deserve this. That's the hard thing though. Your players deserve to fight and play. They deserve that. And they lost that opportunity to play out, but they deserve to be in a bowl game. But I think the bigger statement is they deserve something more than the Orange Bowl.
And what about our key players that are seniors or guys who are going to the draft? What if some of those guys some of them got hurt last night, some of them. What if they had career-ending injuries or something? What would they have been playing for? What would they be thinking today?
Yeah.
What is Jordan Travis thinking today? Because of my injury, that my entire team got screwed because of me. Yeah. It's not because of Jordan. He was playing his best, but he's got to be thinking a little bit. It was all on me.
That's how the committee's framing it, and that's not fair. And
it's not fair. That's right.
The excuse they're using, and it's not fair. The committee is snakes, and they're using Jordan Travis as the scapegoat for this entire formula, and it's garbage. But like I said, I think Florida State should accept the invite to the Orange Bowl, and then when they get ready to get on the field, they should just sit there and not take the field and say, hey, here's your 3 hours. Enjoy trying to fill it with commercials for 3 hours because we're not taking the field. And I think it should be a protest. And there's going to be criticism, but I think it should be they should protest the game the right way. I don't think it's decline the invite, because then Louisville, some undeserving team, gets it.
Right.
You should accept it and then protest.
Go and have fun that week, right? Go and have fun. Go to wherever the hell you go. Get your swag bags. But you've got to send a strong statement.
Yeah.
I believe you do. Florida State fans will support you. Our president and administration should fully support you. The athletic department should fully support you to send a very strong statement across the country, because that's what you do. If you do that, you can't sit back and regret, because you've got to protect your players. Okay. Now, if you want, I don't know what that statement, KB, could be. It could be like, well, guess what? I'm just going to start all my freshmen and sophomores, and they'll play the game. Whatever happens, happens.
No,
or anybody wants to.
You don't take the field. Do not give the networks anything they can televise. Say, here's the FU. We're not going to give you a game that anybody's going to watch, and you screw over them. You screw over their advertisers. You screw everybody, and say you screwed us. We're going to screw you right back. That's how you do it.
Well, you're going to have the argument. You're going to have the argument by the professionals. Well, that's not a way you want to do it. Well, that's what they're going to have to counter.
This is the only way people learn. This is the only way people start, they learn a lesson. A lesson's not going to be a strongly worded statement from Mike Norvell. That's not going to change things. Changing things that's hitting them where it hurts them is their wallet. No, is their wallet. Mm-hmm. That's where you get things done. It's hitting them where it hurts, and it's their advertising.
It's always been.
If you don't take the field and you don't give them entertainment, something they can put commercials next to, and you say, no, we're not taking the field for 3 hours. There you go. That's the money. That's when the advertisers get pissed at ESPN or whoever's going to host this game, and they say, we want our money back. There you go. That's the millions of dollars. That starts it slow and people get pissed off. That's how you get back. That's what, I know that's not, you will get a lot of people who will be pissed off at Florida State. But until things change, this is how you hurt them. You hurt them in their wallet.
Yeah, I agree. Well, look at our changing world today, right? How do people get attention? Just the way we said it. You go out and you peacefully protest what happened. Peacefully protest. Florida, that's got to be an option for Florida State. It can be an option. And when they come out for the bowl game and they go, because you want those extra weeks of practice. That's probably the most important thing.
Yeah,
Any
absolutely.
coach will tell you, I get 3 weeks of extra practice. Okay, 2 to 3 weeks of extra practice. And that's very important to make a bowl game. So one of the options, as you said, we go through as normal. We take our warm-ups, and then when the game's, the game's about to kick off, everybody just heads into the locker room.
Exactly. Let
Right?
them enjoy the experience of the week. That's the best thing.
Now-
they can enjoy the swag. They get to enjoy
Absolutely.
the location. All that
Absolutely.
stuff, and then they don't have to risk injury. You get all the
Absolutely.
practice in,
So-
no risk of injury.
So you could do that. And here's another option. You could go in for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the hell. It's your team. You decide. You go in and you say, we're not playing the game. And you have your athletic director and president say it. Okay? They have to have Mike Norvell's back. And or you take a 30-minute delay and then you come back out and you decide, okay, now we'll play the game. You could do that as an option. Okay? But you must send a statement. A very
It can't be a
strong,
written, and it can't just be some
statement.
stupid written
Statement.
statement by the ACC.
That'll
or
be
Michael
lost
Hurt.
in history.
Exactly.
That'll
it
be
has
lost.
to be, like you said,
Visual.
It has yes, visual. That somehow,
Right.
I believe it has to hit their pocketbook. It has
Because
to
you
hit
know
them
what?
where it makes a difference.
You know what? Our fan base now is concerned. Okay, the fans are concerned too. Okay, the fans make a program as well. Well, how much shit do you think Florida State fans are going to take now from SEC, the Gators,
Yeah.
and all this other shit? Okay, I know it doesn't count. I don't give a shit what they think. But what I'm saying is, you have to factor that in. This is the type of stuff that comes with it. Oh, you guys 13-0? Huh? You couldn't even get in the playoffs. 2 SEC teams with 1 losses. That shows we're better than you guys.
Yeah.
The administration can't sit on this.
No, they can't. And like I said, and Calvin, that's what we said. I think they should boycott the game, but make sure they do it the right way. Where
Would
it
you
seems like they're
say?
going. Yeah.
Would you say, KB, that you and I and Seminole Sideline 365 are calling for some sort of boycott of the game, be it a full game? You go in, you perform your duties, you have the fun, just have a good time.
Yep.
Come kickoff, you walk away.
Yes.
Or you delay, you go back in and you delay at least 30 minutes or so.
I think it has to be a strategic boycott. Because like you said, it can't be like we fully decline it because they'll just replace you. It has to be strategic. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're coming. And like you said,
and
have
we
your fun,
fully support
take
a
your practice.
boycott.
Yeah. Take
Okay.
your practices, take your swag, let the players enjoy it. They deserve that. Like you said, make a statement. There has to be a visual statement that says this will not be acceptable to us or other teams that may come after us in the future, because this will be used against you recruiting as well. Look, SEC teams can't get in the playoffs even if they go undefeated. Why would you go there? You can't play in the postseason.
You can't do any better than 13-0.
Yeah, you're going to 12 teams next year, and that is the difference, though. In 12 teams, conference champions are automatically added to a spot next year. That is the only difference. But the thing is,
it's too late then.
Too late then.
It's too late. You get one season to go third. You know how hard it is to go undefeated?
Yeah.
With
and
the
as Mike
schedule.
Norvell said, Texas and Alabama, they earned those losses. We earned all our wins. That's the end of the story. They earned those losses. We earned all our wins, and we still didn't get in.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I know you are. I think we feel the same on this. We fully support, and we may be the first program on the air to fully support a full or partial boycott of any bowl game, which will be announced at 2:30, 2:45 today.
Yeah.
Okay, they go through that nonsense. The bowl games after the playoffs are basically meaningless. All they are is games for evaluating future personnel on your team for the next season, hoping none of them have career-ending injuries. Okay? You tell me if you disagree. the bowl games coming up are big money for the conferences and for TV. That's what it's about. But for players, for players, what difference? Who do we get match up with? With Georgia? That's what they'll do. Florida State versus Georgia.
No, that's not the Orange Bowl setup.
Whatever the shit it is. Okay? Because you know what they do. Who travels better to what site? That's what they start doing.
Orange Bowl, they have conference affiliations. So
But what I'm saying is the bowl matchup, the bowl game locations have desires for certain teams. Okay, Florida State versus Ohio State.
They could get, it's SEC, Big Ten, and Notre Dame.
Okay,
so they could get Georgia.
But what I'm saying, KB, is the Florida State team, if they decide not to do a boycott, the team that shows up is not going to be the team that you've seen this season.
Yeah.
Why would Keon Coleman show up to play in that game?
Well,
why would he show up? Do you think?
Because he has to look at the last 4 weeks.
Is that going to change Keon Coleman's future by Brock Glenn throwing 1-2 passes? He's risking injury.
I agree.
I wouldn't even go on the field. Would Johnny Wilson benefit by playing in that game?
No,
I don't. Would Jared Verse benefit from playing in the game? No, he just plowed 2 guys the last 2 weeks back into the quarterback. He's not going to play. Would Fabian Lovett benefit? No. Would Fisk benefit? No. Who would Trey Benson benefit? No. No, he's not. He's not. If he didn't get 50 yards last night, he ain't going to get 50 yards against Ohio State given our average offensive line. He's not going to benefit. So this team will be totally different. So, go ahead and play, but it's a totally different team. It's not Florida State 2023 team that you had. You'll have Brock Glenn or Tate at quarterback, and you'll have guys that want to go to the NFL not playing. Braden Fisk would rather play in the Senior Bowl where he's been invited, right? He'd rather play there under the guidance of NFL coaches who can see him. He is not going to put his ass on the line against some stripped down other team. For what? If I'm his agent, any of those guys I mentioned, I'd say do not play. Okay? Yeah. And that shit's going to flow out in the next couple of weeks. In fact,
I don't care. I don't care.
I do care.
I encourage everybody to not watch these games, college football playoff games. There needs to be both a boycott of FSU going to one of these New York 6 bowls. A statement like that, I encourage. There needs to be they need to make a statement, and also Mike Alford needs to get out of this effing conference ASAP.
No, we don't hear anything about that.
Enough words,
nothing.
Enough videos by YouTube personalities saying we're getting out, we're getting out. No, there needs to be action. Get out of this damn conference because nobody respects it. Nobody respects it, and it just costs you your season. Get out, Mike Alford. Stop retweeting. Stop tweeting. Get us out of this conference. Pay the check. Get your lawyers. Do whatever it takes. This is the moment. Because you know what's going to happen? You're going to lose Mike Norvell. You're going to lose coaches because they just work their ass off. These players just work their ass off. These coaches just work their ass off. They just got screwed because of that name, that title, that conference next to their name. This conference just screwed us as well because nobody respects it. And Florida State did all they could. They scheduled LSU. They went 13-0. They did everything they could. It still didn't mean anything to the networks. And that's ultimately what it came down to.
That's right. Yeah,
get us out. Enough words, more actions. Right. More actions to get us out now.
This is the time, KB. This is the time and place. Florida State can't do the general, how do you feel about this? Now, those comments are coming out later this afternoon. They're going to interview the coaches. Mike Norvell has to come out. They're going to do the top 4 coaches. I don't think they're going to do Mike Norvell, but that interview is going to come up. And I'm telling you right now, the leading FSU media, which we're not, and the inside media people that have access, that charge you viewers out there subscription rates to their inside information, better start asking some damn good questions about what Florida State's going to do about this shit. And if they're not asking those questions, then you as viewers need to let them know that you guys are softball reporters. You're afraid of being cut out of the press conferences, and it's sick. You're not journalists. You need to ask the tough questions. If you can't ask the tough questions, you allow us to come in there and we'll ask some tough, professional, relevant questions.
And I also do agree. Stop watching ESPN. Stop giving them your time, your money, Disney. All they've done for the last several weeks is try to make a case against Florida State. They did all the broadcasts last night. They did all the broadcasts against North Alabama. They've done it for weeks. They've done it on College Game Day. They've done it for weeks. And then you have guys like Stephen A. Smith who know nothing about college football say something like this: condolences to Florida State. But they couldn't like TCU did. They got destroyed 65-7. Stephen A. TCU beat Michigan in the first round of the playoffs last year, buddy. Did you not remember that? TCU beat Michigan in the first round of the playoffs. So what the hell are you talking about? These talking heads at ESPN have no effing clue. It's all about money. It's all about clicks. Stop giving ESPN your engagement, your money, your time. Once again, it needs to be a boycott on multiple levels. It has to be from the program. Do not get on that field and give them their commercial money. Do not give them entertainment on the field so they get screwed by their advertisers. Do not give ESPN your eyeballs. Do not give them your clicks. They do not care about you. They care about engagement. They care about getting you riled up. They know nothing about Florida State. Stephen A. Smith has not watched a Florida State game all year. He does not know what he's talking about. These are regurgitated points that he's being fed. These people do not know what they're talking about. Stop giving them your time. Stop getting mad about them. That's what they want. They don't know anything. Just leave them alone. We have to focus on the things in front of us. Like you just said, getting out of the ACC. Boy, yeah. Oh God, I'm just so.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let me pick this up. No, leave that comment up. Can you put that up again? I want to go. Words matter, okay? Behaviors matter. Okay, he says here, but we don't need the potential of another slaughter because FSU doesn't have a quarterback. That's his prediction. It doesn't mean anything. But wait, could not risk it. He means the networks couldn't frickin' risk it. Okay, because they need viewership. They need ad money. That's why. Why do you think they're expanding playoffs to 12 games, much like the NFL did years ago? The NFL has teams in their playoffs that are 7-7 on the year or whatever, a 500 record, because it brings in more ad money. It brings in more hype. Okay.
And they need it because ESPN's laying off employees like it's nothing.
Yeah, and it's sick. His comments make me sick. Okay, here it is. Condolences. That's what you fans out there are going to hear. FSU fans are going to hear condolences. Oh, you guys had such a great season. Have you ever been to a funeral or a wake where everybody says, sorry for your loss? That's what's going to be said to Florida State and Florida State fans until they get past the funeral stage, and then everybody's going to come out, well, you guys weren't good enough. 2 one-loss teams jump ahead of you. SEC rules. It's sick, and it's all done deliberately. The game last night.
About this game. He forgot about this game.
Yeah, he forgot about that game
where TCU beat Michigan in the playoffs. But
because he's sitting in his underwear at home, drinking his coffee, putting out some shit that he knows ESPN viewers will look at and say, "Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right." Yeah. It's really a sad and sick situation. But we go back to our point. We here, Seminole Side 365, are calling for a very strong. Not only verbal, but nonverbal behavioral target, visual that the country can see, because people will view the game because they want to see how Florida State's going to react, okay, to a Big Six bowl game New Year's Day, and Florida State has a chance to send a big message. Failure to do so will make you look weak and soft.
Yeah. I hate this statement from Jordan Travis that he has to say something like this. devastated, heartbroken, so much disbelief right now. I wish my leg broke earlier in the season so y'all could see this team is much more than
Yeah, he feels bad.
I thought results matter. 13-0, and this roster matches up across any team in those top 4 rankings. I'm so sorry. Go Knowles.
See,
and once again, and that's
just like
the
I
issue,
said,
is that
KB.
ESPN is framing this as this is his fault.
Yeah.
That it's one guy that this is why they're not in. They're making him the scapegoat for why they're not in, which is so wrong. Because as we saw last night, that defense is one of the best in the nation. That defense, stack them against Michigan, I don't think Michigan will score. Stack them against any team in the nation, I give us a chance. You see defense wins championships. Defense won that game last night and set the offense up for the ability to score points. So, to have as much offense as Michigan did last night, right? And so for ESPN and all these networks to frame Jordan Travis as the reason Florida State didn't get in is so slanderous. I hate it. I hate it. It's
Hey, here's a great comment on Twitter. I'm monitoring Twitter as we're on the air here. This is from Flo Switch. He says, we all know that the SEC paid Alabama's ticket into the playoffs. Yep. You know, I'm not a conspiracy guy. But you know what? I'm believing now there is more to this. And the SEC and ESPN, who carries a lot of the games, okay, we saw the reaction of Kirk and Chris Fowler, I guess it was Chris, when they jumped around like little kids when Alabama pulled that out. What was it? 4th and 31 against Auburn. And Auburn blew the game. They rushed 2 guys, I think it was, and let that guy stand back there and throw it in there. It was almost like it was rigged. I mean, it was unbelievable. And they were jumping around because they want Alabama and Nick Saban back in there. It's all owned.
Yeah. Ryan Kelly says, all I'll say on this debate is if you believe Jordan Travis means that much to a team that's capable of that defense performance and a buttload of skill players, he better be on your first team Heisman ballot. Florida football is a team sport tonight. It's a great reminder. Yeah. So why, if Jordan Travis is the reason why Florida State was a top 4 team or a playoff team, then why isn't he going to New York to be in the Heisman conversation, right? If they see him, if they think that highly of him, all the way up till the last couple of games, the last game of the season, why is he not? He should be the first. He should win the damn Heisman if he carried the team that much, right? They're debating against themselves. The committee is, right?
It sucks.
Jordan Travis is the reason.
Yeah, it sucks for Jordan Travis because you saw from the previous statement you put up from Jordan Travis, he is now internalizing this. He's internalizing that it came down to me and this severe injury I suffered against North Alabama. You couldn't write that any differently. It wasn't against the Gators. It wasn't against LSU. It was against North Alabama. And he's now internalizing, if I was still playing on this team, no matter if we'd have won 16-6 and I had a shitty night, we'd be in the playoffs.
I mean, I don't plan to watch any games. I just.
Well, I probably will watch some of the games, and I want to see Michigan get their ass beat because they're the ones, no coach on the sideline for 6 games, but that doesn't matter because they kept winning.
Don't give ESPN your time,
a
attention,
huge
money.
cheating scandal that's still being investigated. That's still an open case with the NCAA, but there won't be any word during this season, right? Because they don't want to screw up all of this now. Can you imagine? And Michigan accept a penalty just to get it kind of blow away through this playoff run. It's sick and it's fixed in that regard.
Yeah. As Cannell says, he used the argument, they're not the same without their starting QB. You have completely diminished the value of team sports. And I think that's right. The committee's saying one player is the reason why they can't make the playoff.
One guy.
Most asinine argument. And once again, I keep saying it. They needed a reason to leave Florida State out because they had no reasons. They were 13-0, had given up, had shut down the last 3 opponents, Florida, Louisville, nothing was given up on defense. And even with that, even with a second string, third string, doesn't matter. They're still able to put up points and win games. They needed a reason, anything. They had to scratch and claw and find something to leave Florida State out. And it was, well, I guess, it's Jordan Travis, right? That's the reason we can pin it on. It's him. It's the injured guy. We can get it on him, right? They got a starter out. We can pin it on him. That's the one thing they were able to say. Well, in this one paragraph, we can say it's, you lose an impact player. Even though Florida State has 20 plus impact players, their entire defensive line, their entire defensive backfield, their linebackers, Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, Jaheim. I don't want to keep talking.
I wonder.
We can't change this now, but there's things they can do moving forward, and that is what the mindset has to be. Alford has to look at, how do we get out? Norvell has to say, how do we get better for next year? Start thinking, this team is locked and loaded. I know he's already going to start to look at, what do we do moving forward, whether it's bowl game this year, how we start closing out this next season, because there's many different things, but looking at Twitter and doom scrolling is not going to make it better, right? Once I'm done talking about this today, I'm not going to keep going on Twitter because I can't change anything. And I don't want these players. These players can't change anything. They did everything right. It's not on them. But what we can control is what we look like moving forward. Going back and forth with Gator fans and Miami fans aren't going to be. They suck. We know they suck. Don't engage with Miami fans and Florida fans. They had a combined 12 wins. We had 13. We don't have to talk to Gator fans and Miami fans. They suck.
Yeah, don't get it. Don't engage them.
They have more combined wins than they have total.
Right. Don't engage them.
They don't have anything on us.
Right.
It's on us to get better from this point forward, right? And it's on the administration to make sure we get out of this dog shit conference. That is on Alford. That's on the lawyers to make sure that this team does not get hosed moving forward. That is on him. So AD, lawyers, president, get your ass in a room and figure it out. That's what you owe to these players. That's what you owe to Mike Norvell. That's what you owe to
and let the fans know what you're doing. And
I don't care if you let us know.
I do. I mean, how do we find out?
Because if they have to work behind the scenes to get shit done, do that. I don't have to be in the room with them. Work behind the scenes. Cut deals, get it done. I don't give a shit, but get it done. I'm tired of hearing. It's happening. Get the shit done. Cut deals, backroom deals. Put money in places where it needs to go. Grease hands. Get it done. Enough words. Get us out of this. We just got screwed. You cost these players an opportunity. You cost the staff an opportunity. We cannot let this ever happen again. This is your signal. It's time to get out now.
Yeah, and you know what? You summarized it pretty well, KB. And they can't sit back and say, well, then everybody thinks we're just whining and we're just sore losers. Losers. We did everything in our control and we still got screwed. You have the perfect opportunity. You're in the driver position. And remember what we've always said, control what you control. Well, you control your reaction. You control your response to this adversity, as Coach Mike likes to say. We've been struck with adversity now, and we can control our reply at the time of our choosing, at the date and time of our choosing. You remember those famous words outside of sports. We're going to come after you at the time of our choosing. And you know what? This is what Florida State and the administration at Florida State needs to do. Because as you said earlier, recruits are watching this. This is important. Why would I come to the ACC if we can't compete for a national championship? You don't think other recruiters, when they're going after these same top players, are going to say that to them? Well, did you see what happened to Florida State? They went 13-0, and they got left out of the playoffs. Yep. They weren't even considered. You're going to a dying conference, young man. Is that what you want? Is that what you want?
No.
It's
No.
sick. It is a sick feeling in my stomach about this, and I'm tired. I'm going to say this again. This week, I'm going to monitor everything I normally do, but the FSU media and press need to take off the damn gloves at this point and ask softball questions that lead Mike into letting him air it out some if he's willing to do it. Talk to the administration. Talk to the AD. What are people paying insider information for when they're just getting a regurgitation of, oh, this high school guy? We don't give a shit about that. What we care about is what is going on today with this team that's worked their asses off and have gotten nothing to show for it. The ACC championship is meaningful. Beating Miami and Florida is meaningful. Grinding it out when you lost a top player is meaningful. And other players along the way. You have accomplished a lot. We're not going to diminish that.
Yeah.
However, when you get totally screwed or mugged on the street and sucker punched for no good reason, you must reply. You must reply, and it has to be strong. It has to be strong.
Exactly. This should be a strategic response, like we talked about on the field, whether it's a boycott, a strategic boycott of the Orange Bowl, whether it's getting out of this conference. There should be a multi-pronged attack, quote unquote, multi-pronged response to what happened today. Because, like I said, like we said, what happened today was a statement against this university, was a statement against this conference. And you should not take this lightly. So I hope Mike Norvell, after he talked to his players, talked to his staff, met with Mike Alford, the president, said, we need to have a game plan. It doesn't have to be loud and angry and getting in front of a podium, but what are our next 3 actions we do after this? Because we need to make a statement back. And it doesn't have to be tomorrow, it doesn't have to be the next day, but we need to make them feel us and what happened today. And we need to hit them in their wallet. We need to hit them in the media. We need to, ultimately we need to get out. So I agree with you. And I'll say it one more time. Do not waste your energy on Twitter, on social media, trying to get it back and forth with fans.
Right.
This team is probably defensively. This is probably one of the best defensive units I've ever seen at Florida State, especially how they closed out this year. I mean, no fan should be able to tell you that this isn't one of the best Florida State teams we've had, especially on the defensive end of the football. Like, who are they going to tell us? We scheduled LSU and beat their ass. The mighty SEC, a top 5 LSU team. We scheduled them week 1 and beat their ass. Dominated them like nobody else had. We beat the Gators in the swamp with a backup quarterback. We beat Clemson in Death Valley.
We beat Louisville with a 3rd-string quarterback in the ACC championship.
6 points.
Dominated them.
6 points.
With they had a quarterback with 36 starts.
Yeah, and held them to negative yards in the 4th quarter. 2 straight weeks, our defense has held a team to negative yards in the 4th quarter. Let the troll accounts and all these UF Miami fans.
Don't play with it. Don't waste your time.
Let them look up the stats because we don't have to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
We proved ourselves on the field. Our players prove themselves every.
Here's Barstool. Here's Barstool Bama. It's some college kid who gets a few bucks from Barstool Sports for covering. Having Noel tears in my Wheaties this morning. Showing the video of Mike Norvell contemplating his comments after being left out. Hey, screw you. Screw you. You know what I mean?
Stop engaging it. Don't give it air. That's what
I'm
saying.
But I'm saying, but you have to understand, sometimes this is a venting tool. It has become a venting tool for me some ways, but for some of our fans, it is a venting tool.
But it's a vicious cycle because you think it's a venting tool, but then you see another one, and you doom scroll. And like I said, do not give these trolls your attention, your engagement, and give them visibility, because that's what they want. This team did everything right. And this team is going to be one of the greatest Florida State teams we've ever seen. Even if we don't, without even making the playoffs. And that's not to say we're going to declare ourselves natural champions like UCF did back, 5 or 10 years ago.
No, you don't need to do that.
But we don't need to do that. We proved ourselves on the field, and we got screwed. That's the end of the story. We got screwed. We didn't have an opportunity to prove ourselves in the playoffs. But what they did on the field, what this defense did, what this offense did throughout the year, the plays they made, the wins they achieved, what they did is all you need to say. Tell the trolls to go look up what we did. Tell them to tell us why we didn't deserve to do it. That's all you have to do.
Don't do an answer back and forth. I don't do that. I don't answer back and forth. If you want to put out a statement on your Twitter or social media, go ahead.
To anybody.
Right.
We don't have to prove ourselves to anybody. We're 13-0. We're conference champions. We went 2-0 against the mighty SEC. We have to prove ourselves to nobody. We got screwed. That's it. And our next step is getting out of the shit conference. Our next step is putting it to the television networks, ESPN. And I think we strategically will hopefully do that. And we'll see how the Orange Bowl goes. And I hope we make a statement there. And next year, we go and do it again. Prove it wasn't a fluke. Get better next year. Do it for the players who don't get to do it this year. That should be the mindset. Let's, sorrow today, building tomorrow, right? Let's do it next year for the players who didn't get to do it. All the seniors who got screwed this year, come back, rebuild, and do it next year.
But how do we tell everybody, how do we tell our players and fans, well, we're not going to be team 13 next year instead of the top 12? How do we do that?
What do you mean? Because
how do we say who's going to be number 13 next year instead of number 5 this year?
Conference champions get in automatically next year in the playoff system.
Yeah, right. But with 12 teams, other teams are going to get in too. Right? They'll find another way to get SEC and Big Ten teams in.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The rules will be different. Like you said, they'll flip. That's even more reason too why we need to get out. Because unless ACC is not going to get multiple teams in a 12-team format. It's going to be one conference champion from the ACC. That's it. And once again, Alford, the president, they have to get together and figure out a way. No more words, more action. No, words don't do anything anymore. It's about figuring out the way to get out. And I think this may actually help potentially in their legal case to say, you are losing us money. You are losing us our ability to elevate this university's stature among the national media, and losing us revenue opportunities because they don't respect this conference and what it does.
Well, here's a remark on Twitter by Rick Bosich. ACC should be unhappy with its leadership, been asleep while the SEC and Big Ten took control of the game. And that's what we've been saying. They're basically dominating it now, and they understand that TV's running it, the ESPNs. We can't be on the ACC network, the CW, ESPN 28 plus. We can't say anything more. This university needs to get the hell out of this ACC thing because it's going to be used against you money-wise, recruiting-wise. I don't know how the hell you explain this to recruits, that we get screwed. Well, what if we go undefeated next year? Well, I guess and we win the ACC championship. That's the only way you can get in next year because the rules change again. Yeah. And I think it was Chris Fowler in an interview I saw earlier this morning. He goes, well, the rules are different this year. Different how? Best. How do you define best? It's
all humans in a room. Well, and that's the thing about human judgment. It can always be swayed and influenced, whether it's by money, whether it's by backhanded deals, whether it's, and that's... And
you don't think the TV hands are in that shit?
No, exactly. And that's why it was so weird because someone put up, if we were still into the BCS standings, Florida State would have been in. And typically, the final rankings have gone in line with the BCS, the old school BCS formula. So it makes no sense. It makes no logical sense why Florida State, based on strength of schedule, quality wins, AP polls, everything, why they didn't get in. It's
Well, here's something
true,
that
yeah.
I would like to see. Maybe it's out there, maybe it's not even done. It's kind of like a big jury case. You have a big case in court, and then at the end, when the verdict comes, guilty or not guilty, the lawyers for both sides can ask for a polling of the jurors. Who voted for what? Is that possible from the committee? How many vote? I don't even know how many voting members there are on the committee. Do you?
I'm not a fan.
No, you don't. Okay, so I don't either. Okay, and that's okay. We're not experts on everything, but wouldn't you like to see if there were 20 votes or 25 votes? Wouldn't you like to see who voted for what?
Yeah.
Because do they have to rank each voter? Does he have to rank the top five?
Yeah.
Top five? I'd like to see that shit. Okay? Now, somebody put up, this is a good comment. Now, let's say Deion Sanders' team was number 5. I'll bet you he'd have a lot of shit to say, whether you respect it or not. Mike Norvell is a nice guy. He's a true professional. Mike Alford, the AD, is a true professional. But it's now time for them to take off the gloves, protect your university, protect your program, and protect the players at your university in all their sports. If this happened in soccer, basketball, or anything else, baseball, you got to respond, as we've been saying. And I know we've said it a lot, but it's important. You must respond so the country and the nation understands we're not going to take this shit lying down. You're not going to sucker punch us and walk away and get away with it. Okay? But it has to go beyond these types of just statements. Okay? It has to be done visually so people understand it goes with your verbals.
So, yeah, they released some statements. So Mike Alford has released a statement. I'll read through some of this. The consequences of giving into a narrative of the moment are destructive, far-reaching, and permanent, not just for Florida State, but college football as a whole. The argument of whether a team is the most deserving or best is a false equivalence. It renders the season up to yesterday irrelevant and significantly damages the legitimacy of the college football playoff. The 2023 Florida State Seminoles are the epitome of a total team. To eliminate them from a chance to compete for a national champion is an unwarranted injustice that shows complete disregard and disrespect for their performance and accomplishments. It is unforgivable. The fact that the team has continued to close out victories in dominant fashion facing our current quarterback situation should have enhanced our case to get a playoff berth and earned on the field. Instead, the committee decided to elevate themselves and make history today by departing from what makes this sport great by excluding an undefeated Power 5 conference champion for the first time since the advent of BCS college football playoff era 25 years ago. This ridiculous decision is a departure from the competitive expectations that stood the test of time in college football. Wins matter, losses matter. Those that compete in the arena know this. Those on the committee who have also competed in the sport should have known should have known this, have forgotten it today. Sorry. Those on the committee who have also competed in the sport and should have known this have forgotten it. Today, they have changed the way success is assessed in college football from a tangible metric, winning on the field, to an intangible, subjective one. Evidently, predicting the future matters more. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so he puts out a powerful statement. Norvell will put out a powerful written statement. But we've got to go beyond that. You and I agree on that.
Yeah.
You have to do something visually to catch national attention, and you do that by a professional type of statement on the field somehow, okay, for support of your program, all right? And that's done through a peaceful protest, a peaceful boycott. That's how it's done. We're not. That's how you move forward with these words.
Here's some of Mike Norvell's statement that just got released.
You want me to read it?
I'm okay.
Let me read it. This is a statement from FSU football coach Mike Norvell, and you found this where?
Just Kurt Weiler.
Okay. Go ahead and put it up so I can see it. I am disgusted and infuriated with the committee's decision today to have what was earned on the field taken away because a small group of people decided they know better than the results of the games. What is the point of playing games? Do you tell players it is okay to quit if someone goes down? Do you not play a senior on senior day for fear of injury? Where is the motivation to schedule challenging non-conference games? We are not only an undefeated P5 conference champion, but we also played 2 P5 non-conference games away from home and won both of them. I don't understand how we're supposed to think this is an acceptable way to evaluate a team. And I'm going to add any team. I'm hurting for our players who have displayed a tremendous amount of resilience in response to this season. What happened today goes against everything that is true and right in college football. A team that overcame tremendous adversity and found a way to win doing whatever it took on the field was cheated today. It's a sad day for college football. I'm proud of the work we have put in and the players I have the privilege to coach. We have, this is hard to read. We have one more opportunity to define this 2023 team in the Orange Bowl, and I believe in how our team will respond. I've been following this team since the 60s when I was a kid on an AM transistor radio, and it makes me sick to see this. And I expect and want a strong response to support these statements.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think it's a well-said statement.
I've watched a lot of tragedies for this football team, a lot of games where, things happen, but we can't let this go.
Yep. No. This, as you said, and as Mike Norvell said, this should change the way that you look at college football. It's going to change the way that college football is seen, and I think it should change the way that Florida State approaches the game of college football. And how they, I think this is a defining moment for college football history. Absolutely, and I'm not saying that as just a Florida State fan, as someone in the moment. I think that is a defining moment.
And whatever Florida State decides to do, they need to think it over very carefully. This is a defining moment. College football has changed dramatically in my lifetime. In my lifetime, I don't have much time left down the road. Okay? So to see us get screwed is hard. It's hard to watch.
Yep.
Okay, my games are numbered.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
And that's not to say because of my age, but everybody, And these young men who've played their hearts out, how do they feel? They have to carry this memory forward. Did everything I was told to do. I was told, control what you control. Mm-hmm. I controlled that. We went beyond adversity. Mm-hmm. We went to next man up, to next man up, to next man up.
Yeah.
And in the end, because of money, because of TV, we get screwed.
Yep.
And if this conference, and yes, we're going to leave, but this conference, how they respond to has to show something.
Yep. Absolutely.
And we're not just going to stop after today. No. We're not going to stop on this program. No. We're not going to let this shit slide and go away and continue business as usual. It's not business as usual moving forward.
No. And like I said, I don't want any of the players. I hope they, this is going to be hard for them to move on. This is going to be hard for them. Jordan Travis shouldn't blame himself. And that is the worst part of this. It's how the committee has spun this, how the networks have spun this as being because of Jordan Travis or anything like that. It's not on Jordan Travis. It's not on any of these players. Everyone on the staff, on this team, did their job, and they should be proud of everything that they have achieved. They have played lights out. They made the case, a bulletproof case of why they should be in here in the playoffs. And I think Chuck Todd said it best. The committee has to explain why it ever had FSU ranked in the top 4 the last 2 weeks. And I said this in the very beginning. They had one criteria for the last 2 weeks and another this week. There's no consistency in their decisions. College football playoffs simply hope FSU would lose. Pathetic. And that's what we said in the beginning. If they said it was because a key player was out, well, Jordan Travis has been out for 2 weeks. Why were we in the top 4? We played with Tate last week and won. Why was exactly? And this summarizes it. They have no consistency in their judgment making. They need to come out and explain what changed over the last 2 weeks. Because Jordan Travis has been out. It's not on him. There's no consistency. It's all corruption. And as Mike Norvell said, they were cheated. They were cheated. And that's how you should. You're right. And a lot. And I've been against many times this season. The refs and cheating. The refs are cheating instead of this is corruption right here, guys. I will be on this bandwagon and say we got cheated. You are right to feel that. The players should have a right to feel that, but it shouldn't stop them from feeling accomplishment this year. It shouldn't stop them from wanting to continue to work because they have goals beyond this day. They have goals, NFL goals. They have business goals. They have goals for next season. And that's the only thing I hope that doesn't kill them. They cannot let this moment of cheat, corruption, defeat their motivation to get better. Whether it's the next level of the NFL, life, or in this program. They cannot let this moment define who they are. Because many will hope that this kills the spirit of this program. Because this is going to kill a lot of fans' hope.
Yeah.
That is the biggest thing from today. These players, this coaching staff has to come together and say, they hosed us, guys. But we can do one of two things. We can feel bad for ourselves. We can feel bad for ourselves. We can cry. We can complain. We can or we can just go out and continue to do what we do. Control what we can control. Get better and continue.
Well, but how much better can you be than 13-0 and win your conference championship?
Like I said, you complaining about it. Like I said, actions have to happen. Complaining about it doesn't do anything. Us going on Twitter and bitching about it's not going to change anything. Mike Norvell, the president, they have to get together and they have to come up with a game plan. These players, if they go on Twitter and start complaining, I get it. They can vent those frustrations. But for them, do what you do. Keep getting better. Keep training. Stuff like that. Because that college football playoff is great. Winning a national championship is great. But you define yourselves on the field. People will remember this team for years to come, for decades to come. Winning an ACC, we hadn't won an ACC championship in almost 10 years. They will remember you regardless of the playoffs, right? And if you decide to play in that Orange Bowl, be prepared to play in that Orange Bowl. If you're coming back next year, start working for next year. They have all the right to feel bad for themselves, all the right to do it. But I know the culture of this team. I know what they've built. Is that they will say, F it. They screwed us. That's fine. But there's going to be a lot of, and Coach Norvell says this all the time, you're going to face adversity a lot in your life. And guys will try to cheat you. Guys will work behind your back to get a promotion, to not get you promoted. This is one of many horrible situations that will happen. And you have multiple ways that you can react to it. You can go out, you can vent, and then get better and find solutions to it and work around it. Or you can feel sorry for yourself and waste away and bitch about it until people start to pass you. So I understand what people are feeling today. I understand how these players are probably. I don't understand how these players are feeling because they put in all the work that I didn't put in. So I cannot feel how they're feeling. But I know what these players are made of. I know this culture that's been built there, and I know they will not let this affect them, whether they are playing the Orange Bowl or not. whether they decide to or not, I know that they will continue to develop and train and get better every single day with these extra practices they get. So that's all I want to say. But they have every right to feel bad, to feel cheated, to feel like they got screwed out because they did. This is straight corruption. And that's all.
It's sad because for some of these young men on this football team who have dedicated so many years to this now, through so much adversity from COVID and disruptions and social media, social issues in the country, this could be, for some of them, their last game. It could be, because some of them who will leave the team won't be draft eligible or won't be drafted. They may not play a game in the NFL. This is their last game. The committee took away an opportunity that they will never get back again. That's the human interest part of this, okay? And that's why I want to, and I will dig into, because I'm curious, what is this committee made up of? How many people? I think B. Riley had something up there. You can look in the comments about the committee. I don't know if it's right or wrong of how many or do whatever, but how many people actually vote in the end? Is it 10, 15, 25? I don't know the answer to that. How do they vote? Do they rank the top 7? How is that done? And in the end, what I'd like to say, as I said earlier, I'd like to see the jury pooled. What that means is each member must put down how they saw things to be accountable. Is it a secret ballot or is it a transparent ballot? I would like to see that. I want to know where the accountability lies, okay, on who these people are. I don't know who they are, okay? And maybe I should have looked into that more, but I will look into it now. The other thing is, KB, Governor Ron DeSantis, this isn't about politics, put out a statement as well on Twitter about 45 minutes ago. Here's his statement. I'm going to read it. What we learned today is that you can go undefeated and win your conference championship game, but the College Football Playoff Committee will ignore these results. Keyword, ignore. Okay, it was meaningless. Congratulations to at FSU football with an outstanding season and winning the ACC championship. Of course he has to put something out. We respect him for doing that. However, it's just incredible. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I know we're venting our frustration, our fans here. We appreciate our fans here. And putting up what they have to say. We're trying to get all your comments up. We do that here. I put up a guy from Texas, okay? He's telling us, hey, well, too bad. That's the way it is. Get into a good conference. Okay, well, you know what? I have to agree with getting into a better conference. I'll buy that part of it, okay? And we need to do that. I don't know how long it's going to take it or how much money it's going to take, but we definitely have to do that. But it's a tough day. It's a tough day. We've been on the air now longer than we usually do, and we'll stay as long as people want us to stay here and let people vent it out. So keep bringing your comments, and we'll put them up. We'll tell you if we agree or we don't agree. Here, let's look at Tony. I would be extremely surprised, but very impressed with players like Verse actually playing the game. I don't believe that's going to happen. KB, what do you think?
No, as he said, it's not a wise business decision, but like I said, they've built an unbelievable culture of this team. These guys play for each other, and I think Bud Elliott said on his reaction last night is that Jared Verse is better this year. Like, he's not having statistical impact, but he's playing more as a team defense. They're playing as a team defense, not playing to just try to make a solo big play, but they play with each other. They play around each other. And these guys play for each other more than just trying to make individual play. Let me finish! They play for each other. They play around each other. They have a great culture, and they love the game. They love playing. And I would not be surprised if they wanted to say, we're going to go out there and we want to finish strong. Would I be surprised they sat? No. because that is the smart decision to play because they're going to the NFL. See what happened to Jordan Travis in a meaningless game against North Alabama. No, I wouldn't be surprised either way. But could I see Verse and Fisk and Coleman say, we got screwed, especially Verse and Fisk and the guys on the defensive line who said, we got screwed, but we want to go ahead and blow somebody out on the national stage. Let's do it. Let's do it for everyone that said we couldn't do it and it doesn't believe in us. Let's do it. No, I could very well see it happen. Do I think it's smart? Probably not, but I could see it happening.
Yeah, it's an emotional day here for us, so we're tense anyways.
You don't have to apologize for anything.
No, but what I'm saying is, as fans now, this bowl game that'll be announced at 2:30 or whatever. I don't even know what the hell time it is now. I don't really care. To me, is immaterial. It really is. And I think as FSU fans, you have to understand now when players start opting out and there's some media types who all this week, the media is going to go off on the funeral tour of Florida State and how we're going to find out where media people stand out there on national media. I'm talking about TV media, where ESPN type guys, about where everybody stands on did Florida State get screwed or not. And let's listen to their words very carefully. I think that's going to be interesting. I do want to find out, again, where this committee stood member by member, if that's possible. But back to the question. As fans, if a player decides I'm not going to play, I'm good with that. I'm good with that because we're talking about their futures. I'm good with that. I'm going to ask you this, KB. As a coach, Mike Norvell, how would you put it to your players who have to make that decision? Because I'm sure he's going to counsel with them. I'm thinking if I'm the coach, as part of the statement moving forward, as hard as it would be, I would almost say to those players who have a chance to go to the next level for a career, I would say you have every reason and justification to opt out. I would say that as head coach to those players. That's how I would do it. I wouldn't say, well, it's up to you.
No, I would say you've earned the right to make the decision whether you play or not. You've done your job. You won the ACC championship. You went 13-0. You've earned the right to make the decision if you want to play or not. You have nothing else to prove. This team has nothing else to prove. The pinnacle of their season is going to the playoffs. I don't give a shit if we win the Orange Bowl or not. I really
don't either. I don't care.
Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
That's what I would say. I would say, if I was Mike Norvell, I would say, you've done your job. You got hosed. We're not getting to play for the playoffs. You did everything you could to get us to this point. If you want to play, I would love to have you. You have the right to be on that field. If you don't want to play, you've earned the right to say no and to protect your body and get ready for the next level. But I want you a part of the program. I want you on the sidelines. You're all still a part of this team. So every one of those players has earned that right to decide if they want to play in the Orange Bowl or not. Because the Orange Bowl, win or loss, will not define this team. It doesn't. The Orange Bowl means nothing to me. It will not define if this is the successful season or not.
Nothing.
It's a no-nonsense BS bowl game. It means nothing.
It's to make money. It's a game to make somebody money.
Make a statement, and they should play backups, or they should just They should show up.
So why should our key players who have a chance to further their career at the next level even participate in? That's why, as coach, if I'm Coach Norvell, I'm telling them, you only play if it benefits you and your future. Otherwise, you opt out, and I fully support that. The university supports that. Our fan base supports that. And that's what I need to tell our fan base. You need to get on board that any player who opts out has the right and the responsibility for us to support them in opting out. No doubt. If Florida State goes in, gets blown, if they decide to play the game, if they get blown out, they get blown out. I don't care. Because it's not about who we are at this point.
No. This Orange Bowl, like I said, will not define this team. This team defined themselves last night, and then the College Football Committee defined it today. The season's over, guys. The season is over, and I'm fine with that. The team achieved everything it could achieve, and then the College Football Committee said, you achieve no more. And that is not on the players. That is not on the staff. That is not on Mike Norvell. They did everything the committee allowed them to do. And they made their case. They made it airtight, and then he got screwed. I don't give a shit about the Orange Bowl, and neither should you. Because when
and I wouldn't even go. Florida State fan. Well, I want to support the team, but I don't want to support the money that surrounds the shit that goes on down at the Orange Bowl. You're going to go down there and pay thousands of dollars to those people who are part of the same shit committees that got you out.
And that's why we both said it. You accept the invite, have your players get the swag, enjoy the week, get your practices in, and then you don't take the field.
And Florida State,
where it hurts, hit the advertisers, hit the network.
Right.
Big middle finger to ESPN. We're silent protest. We don't get on the field.
And we're not going to show up as fans. And let the administration know. Let our administration know we're not selling tickets at Florida State. Drive the ticket price down to the ground.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay. This is how you send a statement that you're pissed.
Networks. Yes.
Okay. If you go and I know this is going to be tough, and we're going to talk about this more in future program between now and then. Is what is the protest going to look like here? Okay. How Kim says honestly, the Orange Bowl is a huge opportunity. A huge opportunity, Kim, for what? What is the opportunity there? The only opportunity there is to put players in experience and get them some game experience. That's it.
I do see that. This team is going to have to make a lot of growth next year, which will be a whole nother episode. This team is going to be a major transition next year, losing Travis and a bunch of players. And I get that. And that's why you need those bowl practices. That's why you can't fully boycott the game and decline an invite, because you need the practices. You need the reps. You need to get better for next year, obviously, because a lot of guys are going to be losing this team for better places in terms of the draft and stuff like that. You're losing a lot of key playmakers. So I see the opportunity there. But you also have to make a bigger statement than the game. You have to make a bigger statement than the game. You have to show the nation that this is unacceptable, that the decision made today is unacceptable. And the only way they're going to feel that is in their pocketbook. The only way ESPN changes at all is if you make them feel in their pocketbook. And the only way you do that is by not playing is by not showing up on that field, by hitting their advertisers, hitting where the commercials go. That's
I think that can be accomplished by you definitely going to accept the bowl game. Let's talk about strategy here for a minute. I mean, let's talk about strategy for a minute if you have the time. You're definitely going to accept the bowl bid. It's going to be a Bowl 6 New Year's Day bowl. You're going to accept it because of what you just said, KB, is you want the practice time. Yeah. Every coach in America wants 6 wins to get that extra practice time. That's their job. Yeah. You get more development time for next season. You're always playing for next season as well, because that comes up quick. Now, you're also doing it for more visibility of your team. Now, in that regard, you accept, you go down, you go through the process. How you play your players is up to you. No one can, you control what you control, right? So use that as a developmental tool for next year. Next year. Jared Verse is not going to be there next year. Trey Benson's probably not going to be there next year. Johnny Wilson's not going to be there next year. Keon Coleman's not going to be there next year. Put in players that are competing now to play next year. If you get beat, okay, you get beat. All right. It's more like an exhibition game, because that's what it is, because the other team is going to have guys sitting out. We saw this trend several years ago start. It's an exhibition game. It's not going to prove to the country whether we're better or worse, or we got something to prove. That'll be the hype. That'll be the TV hype to get you to watch. That'll be the TV hype to get you to spend money down there. Yeah. Agree?
Yeah,
okay.
No.
But use it for your own needs.
Exactly. And they're saying it's going to be Florida State, Georgia.
There you go.
And draw eyeballs. And that's really, like you said, is where you really can hit them. That game will draw eyeballs. And I don't. That's what I like the idea of not playing the game, or accepting the invite, not playing the game. But Mike Norvell doesn't strike me as a coach that will do that.
Yeah,
he wants to always give his best effort.
Between two huge brands. That's money. A brand is money. Colgate toothpaste is a brand. They advertise like drug commercials to get you to buy. Yep. All right. So it depends how Florida State fans that you're not. I think Florida State will understand if you don't show up. Now, I don't feel as a traitor saying I'm not going to go to the game. I'm not going to go to the game.
No,
okay?
I wouldn't pay to watch.
I'm not going to go. I'm not telling you to go or not go, fans. And I'm not saying because you don't go, you're a bad fan for Florida State. I don't buy that. I won't buy it. I don't care what the administration says. At some point, you have to send a statement. And those tickets will be priced way up there. And if you think winning or losing means anything, I think you're totally wrong. All right? And we'll listen to your arguments. Bring them.
And so, Life's Good says, as a Hurricanes fan, I've discussed the Knowles with an undefeated season didn't make the playoffs. And as you should be. And I know, like you said, we said there's going to be trolls from Florida and Hurricanes, and there are be. But as you said, Life's Good. This doesn't just hurt Florida State. This hurts Miami. This hurts Louisville.
Everybody.
This hurts in the ACC. If this can happen to Florida State, it can absolutely happen to everyone else in the ACC. And this, even going to a 12-team playoff, this shows you that this is a one big conference. Think of it like basketball. When this expanded goes from 4 to 12 next year, this tells me that only the conference champion is going to get in next year. They will find ways to get 2 to 3, maybe 4 SEC teams in, and then probably 3 to 4 Big Ten teams in, and then the rest is up for grabs. ACC will be lucky to get 2 teams into the 12-team playoff next year. Lucky. We didn't even get a 13-0 ACC team into a 14 playoff this year, a conference champion. Do you think next year that ACC is going to get 2 teams into an expanded playoff, one not being a conference champion? This is a warning sign for all ACC teams today that if you do not get out, even with an expanded playoffs, you are screwed because you have no shot if you don't win the conference championship with that automatic bid next year. You will not get in as an at-large next year. You are screwed at the postseason. If you do not get out of this conference ASAP, you are a dying program because you will be negative recruited against by other head coaches who will say, "Look, that program is not ever going to make the playoffs because they can't win an ACC title." And there's only probably 3 or 4 programs capable of winning the ACC title winning the title every single season. Let's just be honest. So, like we keep saying, Mike Alford, the president, Norvell, if they're not already starting to come up with a game plan of actions to get out of this conference, money, whatever it is, they need to be. Because if you're in this conference 2 years from now, I don't know where Florida State will be. I honestly don't know if they'll be if they're still in this conference 2 years later from now. Because this was, I don't know if you need a bigger warning shot than what you got today. Nobody respects the ACC. We knew that before, but this is the most visible sign that you've ever gotten. That nobody respects the ACC, and they are not afraid to tell you to your face now. As a committee, as a network, as everything. They will leave you out in the cold. And they did it today. And it sucks. And every ACC program should be pissed off. You may hate Florida State. You may hate, rivalries, but you could be the next one left out in the cold. Remember that. You could be the next one who gets screwed over by this system. Just remember that. It's tough.
It's a dark day, but it's bigger than just being left out. I mean, this cannot be left just on a couple of statements, one from Alford and one from Mike Norvell. He can't. I'm sure I kind of know what Coach Norvell is going to be talking to the team about. They're going to give him some time off, obviously. And they're going to be talking to players. There's a lot of shit going on. I mean, you got portal windows open. I mean, they're going to be busy. But I think the big debate now is going to be about what this Florida State does moving forward, okay? what they do moving forward. We're going to try to get as many comments up, folks. We appreciate it. We're not picking and choosing. We're putting up people. There's people in here from all over the country. And what I see happening is we're getting a lot of support. FSU has a lot of national support given the comments we're seeing in here. We're going to try to get everybody up. And what we're not seeing is the teams that are already in the playoffs not feeling so sorry for FSU. They're being a little bit more critical, let's say, but everybody else kind of gets it. Okay, everybody else, whoever was the team left out, gets it. Everybody, and there's other teams left out. There'll be other teams in the expanded playoff left out. And you kind of get it when you're the guy on the outside. But in this case, we didn't have one loss. 2 one-loss teams, KB, were placed over a Power 5 13-0 team that had to dig deep to win. Nobody on the committee says these guys busted their ass. They had to go to next man up, and we're going to screw these guys. I want to see that in a polling of the committee members and hold them accountable. I want to see who those people are.
Okay, the other thing I want to bring up, because there's some idiots in the chat who are talking about Alabama, strength of schedule, Alabama and Florida State did the same thing. Went out of the conference and scheduled a early season top 10 opponent. Florida State went out and scheduled LSU, top 5 opponent, and kicked their ass. Held them to the fewest amount of offense that team had all of the year. They picked the best opponent they could from the SEC, top 5, and beat their ass in the neutral field. Alabama picks Texas and loses at home and loses this game.
Yeah, let's go through Alabama's schedule. Let's go through it.
And then the next week, they struggled at South Florida. Narrowly escaped South Florida. They beat
well, wait a minute, KB. Their quarterback wasn't what he is today.
He wasn't good.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's the excuse they use to justify getting them in.
Yeah, and then straight by Texas A&M, the powerful Texas A&M who fired their coach. Arkansas, the 4-win Arkansas team, almost lose at home to Arkansas, right? 8-4 Tennessee, get another 14-point win there. Great. Beat LSU, worse than we did. Only scraped by 14 points against LSU. Kentucky, beat another great Kentucky team this year. Then they got that tough Chattanooga team on their schedule.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the miracle at Auburn. And this is the great Alabama team we're talking about, right? So stop giving this garbage about Alabama's all-world schedule and they had to have a gauntlet to get where they had. No, they did the same thing Florida State did. They scheduled out of the conference. They got a top 10 team on their schedule. They lost it. They shouldn't be in. They had their opportunities. They earned their loss. Florida State earned their win. End of story. Don't give me this garbage. Do not give me this garbage. They're lucky they didn't lose to Auburn. If Auburn is a competent defense, a competent team, we're not even talking about Alabama. We're not even talking about them. So, like I said, the Florida State fans, trolls are going to come out of the woodwork because this is the time they feast on things, because when there's drama, they come out of the woodwork. This is where they get their lifeblood, their energy from. Don't engage with them. You have nothing. These players, these coaches, this staff, you as fans have nothing to be mad. You have things to be mad about, frustrated about. But as a team, you put this team against anybody in the country. We have nothing to be disappointed about this 2023 Florida State football team. Nothing to be disappointed about.
Thank you, Leonardo. Thank you for supporting our program. We appreciate that very much. Gopher fan here. FSU should be 100% boycott. We appreciate that your donation to our super chat. We appreciate that very much. And for you joining us anytime, welcome to our family here.
Appreciate you. We appreciate the support from other programs. Because like we said, it's Florida State today, but it could be anyone else's program. It could be Minnesota down the road. It could be Indiana. It could be some other program who's
It could be your program out there. Anybody.
Who's fighting for an at-large bid down the road. Because when we go to 12 teams, Oh, you think the committee's decision making is going to get a little wonky then?
Yeah.
You think it's wonky now with 4 teams? Wait until they're going outside the conference champion automatic bids, and then there's more teams that they have to judge against. There's going to be a lot more upset people next year. There's going to be 3 or 4 Florida States next year when there's more teams they have to compare against. So we need to come together and figure out what the hell is the transparency in this decision-making process and put these committee members on the line and say, why is your decision-making changing the next 2 weeks? Because we keep saying, why was Florida State a top 4 team the past 2 weeks when Jordan Travis was out? What changed from the North Alabama game to the Louisville game? They put them in the top 4. Remember, we were number 5. And they moved us into the top 4, and we won 2 games with our second string and our third string. Nothing changed. In fact, we covered the spreads and won a conference championship. We got better. We achieved. We checked the boxes. And now they're saying it's because our starting quarterback's out. That's their poll. The reason they're getting doesn't make any sense. And I wouldn't wish this on any other program. I don't care if it's the Gators, Miami, anybody else. Because they've set a dangerous precedent for college football. And this will happen to somebody. It could happen to multiple teams down the road. And that's scary. Because they're just making up reasons now. And it's scary.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not even going to transition into Tim Horton here. Tim Horton makes great donuts up in the Northeast. You know, if you've ever been to one of their restaurants. But Tim, beat Georgia and prove you belong. These bowl games on New Year's Day are bullshit. They're just money makers for the economies of the cities, and that's why they pick a team like Florida State and Georgia. They'll hype the shit out of this, okay? And you'll see that hype. I don't know what channel that game's on. It's probably ESPN, okay? Well, you want to prove you're better and should be in and all this shit. This is not the same Florida State team that's going to show up. And I hope Mike Norvell uses it strictly as a developmental game, not... You know, of course you want to win. That's why we play games. That's why we won 13 games, but it doesn't matter. Okay? Yeah. I am not asking my key players, and you guys can comment. We want to hear your comments. I'm not going to ask Tim, my key players, to go into this game when they're draft eligible and some guy end up with a career-ending injury. I'm not going to ask him to do that. If my player wants to do that because he thinks it'll put more on film, if Braden Fisk says, I'd rather play in that game with my teammates than go to the Senior Bowl, okay? Now, that's a tough decision because the Senior Bowl is by NFL coaches, active coaches who are evaluating him with a lot of scouts there, and he's getting practice reps and getting taught by NFL coaches. Yeah. If he says, no, I think it's better I go to the Senior Bowl, coach, what do you think? Go to the Senior Bowl. You don't need to play. Mike Norvell needs to treat his players with respect. So when he recruits new guys, I am treating you with respect. This is NFL light. The NFL, this is what it's about. And so Georgia, beat Georgia, lose to Georgia. What does it matter? Oh, in the final 25 AP poll, you were ranked. Who gives a shit? There's going to be one team that wins it all. Nobody's going to know anything else except media types who love this shit. Media types this entire next 2 to 3 weeks, KB, all they're going to be talking about is this shit here. What will Florida State do? Oh, how are they going to? They can go out and win it on the field. They're going to hype this stuff up.
Yeah, and what too many? If you play the Orange Bowl full strength, it just makes it
That's
just
a
reinforces
great comment.
It just reinforces the bowl game, what the college football playoff did, because then you're saying, oh, we accept the decision, and you give them exactly what they want. You give the networks money. You reinforce their decision. No, there has to be consequences to what they did to you. You have to make them feel it. So I agree with what you said. And like you said.
And thanks again out to Leonardo for a super chat there. We appreciate that, Leonardo. We do this because of our interest, and you guys. Okay, but we appreciate that nice donation. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. A lot of comments for boycotting, and I agree with you. I think it has to be a strategic boycott, but I think they accept it and then they just don't take the field, something like that.
Do the fans out there, and we've got a lot nationally now, we've got a lot of people out there. If this was your team in this way, we're trying not to be biased. We tend to be kind of objective. Yeah, we're biased. We're Florida State guys.
We're just pissed today, but we're the most objective.
Pissed. If this was your team, would you feel this way? Would you support some kind of a boycott, whether it's a full boycott of the game or a limited boycott of who you're going to play or a 30-minute delay? Would you support that? Do you think that's the right thing to do? Do you think it's unprofessional to do that? What do you think Florida State should do? What would you want them to do?
Like every action has a reaction, right? And this is a serious action against this program and against college football. And I know Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell is a guy high on integrity. He leads his program the right way, and I know he will not want to not play this football game. It's just who he is. He wants to play do everything the right way. He's a man of high morals. And I know he will not want to say we're boycotting this game. But I know that he will want to make a statement somehow. And I hope it's not just – he made a great written statement. Him, the AD, everyone made a great written statement. But it has to be more than words. At some point, actions have to be taken.
Hey, and Tim, if you don't like what we're saying as little girls, turn the damn channel. That's up to you. But we're going to air your comment, but we're not pussies. We're not going to block you at this point unless you get unprofessional here.
If you start spamming stuff, come with facts. Come with facts. Don't say FSU sucks, stuff like that. Come with facts.
That's all. But we air everybody. Yeah, we air everybody.
I'm not going to air everybody. If people are just spamming stuff in the chat, I'm gonna get rid of them.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, if he doesn't like it, turn the freaking channel.
Right. I'm not gonna highlight the trolls though. There's no reason to highlight the trolls. All right. All right. Another super chat. I'm a Texas Longhorn fan. All I can say is leave AC. Demon, appreciate you, man, and absolutely, I agree with you. And that's what we were talking about before.
Woo! Way to go! Thanks, Demon.
Needs to be making backdoor decisions today. If they are not, they are failing this staff. They are failing these players, and they are failing these fans. And Demon, you are 100% correct. Texas, the day they decide to go to the SEC, changed college football. The day Oklahoma decided to go to the SEC, they changed college football. That is really when the consolidation of the conferences happened, and that is the day that Florida State should have really been pushing the pedal to the metal to get out of the conference. And you're totally right.
He is totally right, KB. Demon, Gabe, Simon, thanks again for your contribution as a super chat. We appreciate that. But you're right. You guys made a brilliant move to go to the SEC. Brilliant move. And congratulations. And I will say this. You got a damn good football team. There's no doubt about that. We don't sugarcoat anything. We don't sugarcoat. We're raw. We're unfiltered. You got a damn good football team. You got a damn good quarterback. Your defense is playing lights out at the right time. And I think you got a good shot. I really, really do. Okay? I really do. But thanks for joining us on here, and you're welcome back anytime as well.
But Demon, this is the conversation though. If the Florida State does not make the call, and we've heard it, and you guys probably have heard it. There's all these YouTube channels who have said Florida State's leaving the ACC. They're leaving the ACC, but there has been no concrete actions to show that Florida State's leaving the conference. It's just been all clickbait shit. This AD, Alford, and this president need to get their ass in gear and start making things happen. I know there's legal things, there's contracts.
And maybe there are things we don't know. Okay, maybe there
could be. You're very.
But no one on FSU media says there's anything going on. No one even asked about it.
But this needs to light a fire, and this should light a fire under Clemson. This should light a fire under UNC. This should light a fire under the top programs in the ACC. Because like I was saying, this will happen to you, Clemson. This will happen to you, Miami. This will happen to you, UNC. If you're fighting for an at-large bid next year, you could get screwed. You will get screwed.
Yeah,
those
you're
presidents-
right, KV. If you don't, you get an automatic bid now for the ACC. So you got to be the winner. If you're second place, you're in a dogfight.
You will be out. So
You could lose out to Liberty, who could be 13-0. Okay, and you're saying, what the hell? Who did they play? Scarlet Heart, Blessed Sacrament, whoever they play. Okay, no disrespect, but you could be out. That is what we're questioning here. This is a big moment. As coaches say to players, this is your moment. We're saying to Florida State sports program, athletic department, and the president, this is your moment. They have to step up much more than Coach Norvell. They all need to get together and say, how are we going to handle this? Here are our options. That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. And we will, and then, you can't just send out 2 written statements and call it a day. If you do, which I'm afraid could happen, KB, because that's kind of what can happen now, that this shit will drift away. This will drift away. We'll go back to normal. There'll be certain players. This is what I think will happen. Certain top FSU players won't play. We'll go down there with all the hype that we're going to beat the hell out of Georgia, whoever the hell's down there, and everybody's going to show. And it's not going to matter.
No.
It's not going to matter.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't happen.
NK says, yep, the SEC Invitational might as well make a 12 SEC teams. I mean, it feels like that. It feels like that because you essentially have 2 in. You have Texas and you have Alabama. So it feels like it. And guys, this is only going to get worse with 12 teams, like you said. It's only going to get worse next year. So if Florida State does not find a way to get into the Big Ten or the SEC, they are screwed.
Hey, KD.
This is a warning shot
KD,
to the ACC.
KD. You know who it doesn't get worse for? Think who loves this shit.
Yes,
do you know how? No, the TV people. 12 playoff teams, all the hype in the selection shows, all this stuff we've been seeing around 4 teams. So now we times 3 next time. You can imagine all the shows, the buildup, the interest. You got to be on this channel to watch this game. You're gonna have to be subscribed to all these different channels and shows.
Yep.
Who wins in the end? Who wins are the cities and the money you're gonna spend out there.
Yep.
Okay, so get your credit cards ready, everybody, and that's what you're supporting. The players in the end get screwed.
Absolutely.
And the Florida State is that example. And it could be you next year who gets screwed.
And that's why I'm passionate about this, because I think people are gonna be gloating and praying, and celebrating Florida State, because they hate us, and that's fine. But you do have to look internally and say, could this be us next year? Could this be us in 2 years? And that's why it's a warning shot for all ACC teams, but it's a warning shot for anyone else who's not in the Big Ten and the SEC. All those Pac-12 teams who are consolidating, who are no longer Pac-12 teams, who are no longer found a home. This is scary stuff, guys, because it's just like basketball in bracketology on a smaller scale. If you are not in a respected conference, you're not going to get in that bid, at large bid anymore, right? Even if you schedule top 5 teams, Florida State scheduled LSU top 5, beat their ass, and it didn't matter. Because this criteria of human judgment of who gets in and who gets out doesn't make sense. Would you guys rather go back to the BCS? By the BCS formula, Florida State's in.
Oh, that was 90%.
Florida State is in. They showed it. A guy who does the BCS formula showed that Florida State is in. This is the formula. He does it every year. The All-State
Predictor, KB, said...
I don't care about the All-State Predictor.
But I'm saying right before the playoff committee thing came up, the All-State Predictor had Florida State at 97%.
This is it.
97% chance. So we fell into the 3% category.
Yeah.
We
but if
said
we go back
3%.
To the BCS, the simulated BCS, Florida State would have been in too. So that's what I'm saying. This human judgment, human intervention of it doesn't make sense. And that's why I'm mad but I'm not mad because this is a total screw job. Because even by mathematical formulas and computers, Florida State's in, and even by ESPN's All-State computer program, Florida State's in. But that's why you can't get mad at it at some point because
it's laughable. It's laughable.
It's just like you
got. Well, we've been going through a range of emotions. We're on a roller coaster. I think we got mad at the beginning of the show, in the middle of the show, and we've come down a little bit, but it's going to go back up. You know that. Okay, we're not going to let this shit drop. And people can say, well, you guys are biased. You're Florida. We are Florida State fans.
Absolutely.
But we have criticized Florida State, too, at different things about their team.
We've been very harsh on Florida State.
We've been hard on certain things, but we're not going to let this shit go. We're not going to let this go. These questions need to be asked, and they need to be asked to the right people. The people with inside media access to Florida State as well need to ask good questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't start. We don't want to hear any more about this high school recruit who may commit. Once he commits, we'll cover it.
And I agree with the chat. Find the money, get the lawyers. I don't know where that cash is going to go. They talked about private venture fund, venture capital, But I want to hear those conversations of where those talks are going, because we heard about it in the fall, early fall, summer. And that they were we covered the board of directors meeting earlier in the fall, I believe it was, and how those conversation chats were going, stuff like that. I don't care about new football facilities and new weight rooms, stuff like that. That is not going to matter in 2 years. When these conferences, this new SEC, this new Big Ten super conferences, these new facilities don't matter.
All right. We got another one on the board. Not to interrupt you, KB, but again, we appreciate one, yes, all you listeners from across the country. And this may be our longest program ever, but we appreciate the comments. We're going to air everybody, whether we like it or not. We try to get everybody up. We appreciate the super chat from Ohio Hurricane. As a Canes fan, I'm disgusted. FSU should be in. We appreciate that. And we don't like the Hurricanes much, but we respect their program. They have a respectable history. They had some great runs. They've had a ton of great players. And even in their losing years, they have talent. So given that, Ohio Hurricane, we appreciate you being in here with us, and thanks for the donation.
Yeah, and as we were saying, Ohio Hurricane, is that this as a fan who can understand. You may hate us. You may hate Florida State.
Well, that's a natural rivalry.
This affects you. This decision today will affect Miami. It'll
affect Florida Gators. It affects everybody.
It doesn't affect the Florida Gators. They're in the SEC. It doesn't affect them. It affects the ACC schools.
Yeah,
it affects Miami. It affects Clemson. It affects anyone who competes in the ACC. So Ohio Hurricane, we appreciate it. We appreciate you having a relevant or legitimate opinion on this, and appreciate the donation.
Yeah, but that's what we do on our program here. We bring in everybody. Whether we like your opinion or not, and we'll discuss it. We'll ask you questions. We want people in the comments. Ask each other questions. It's okay. That's what we're here to have this discussion, okay? Yeah. Because there's no doubt that college football now has turned into something through my generations that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
I never saw portal free agency, basically. This expansion of playoffs and the NIL money and all that's going on. The NFL has gotten away for many years of having this as their personnel system, and I can see it getting more and more closely linked. I understand it. You have to go with change. And Florida State has done their best to go with change, but there's changes that they need to make, KB.
Yeah. And as someone put up, I just had it up, but, we talk about this is so disappointing for the players who have put in so much time and work, and I would be frustrated as that. I can't say I feel what they're feeling because I'm not them. I didn't put in thousands of hours of work in the off season, preseason, in the season to get to this point. But you can support them. There's stuff like the Battle's End, Rising Spear, stuff like that can, help, NIL opportunities, stuff like that. So if you have the time or money, stuff like that, support them. that helps them, does directly support them. So go out there. Battle's End is a great one. I know that helps support the players. So if you want to support them in that way, feel free to it. Battle's End, I know, does a lot of great work with the players on that end of things, on that spectrum. Someone brought up in terms of Florida State, here it is. Justin B says, honestly, Florida State doesn't deserve to be in with their quarterback injury and schedule. And Justin B, I'll address this because, like you said, we'll put up opinions like this. And you brought up 2 facts: quarterback injury and schedule. We talked about the schedule. We did that with Alabama.
We've already talked about that.
We did the Alabama thing. We scheduled LSU, beat their ass early. We played Clemson, who's a top 25 team. We beat Duke, who's a top 25 team. We beat another SEC team, Florida. The ACC controls our schedule. We went out of the conference, scheduled LSU, beat their ass. We beat Florida, beat their ass. We can only control so much. We can't control who on our schedule is good or not, but we control out of conference, and we did our thing. Also, we can't control injuries. But also with those injuries, we still beat the spread, and we did our thing.
And I'm going to interrupt you, KB. Got to interrupt you. We got Tony. Tony's come in. Tony, thanks for the donation. We appreciate it. Tony says 2023 college football is now the Don King era of boxing. Tony, I'm not going to put an age on you, but some of our younger fans may not know who the hell Don King is. You find Don King's picture there and put that up. Don King was the master promoter of boxing back in the day of Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali and Sonny Liston. I'm going way back, Tony. So we appreciate your comment about what this is becoming in a way. Yeah, there he is. He had the wild hair. Don King had the wildest hair, but that was his brand. That was his brand. He promoted the biggest fights. He was the guy you went to if you were going to have a big fight. And he was a legend. So, Tony, we appreciate your comment and your analysis. And mostly, thanks again for the Super Chat contribution there. We appreciate you being in here. And, that was the heyday of boxing, KB. Maybe a little bit before your time, but not mine. I listened, Tony, just for your knowledge, I listened to when Muhammad Ali, who was Cassius Clay, he fought, when he first came into boxing, he was Cassius Clay when he fought the champion, the aging champion, Sonny Liston. And he knocked Sonny Liston down. I listened to an AM radio, and he kept saying, Howard Cosell, Liston is down. The champ is down. I'll never forget that ringing in my ears as a teenager.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Tony.
Couple of things here. And this is why I want to put it back in perspective. And I think this tweet did it right. Florida State fans have the right to be pissed, mad, frustrated, all of the above. And I will say, after we talk today, after Sunday, I don't want people to get into this social media back and forth with other fan bases. Alabama.
We know you will. It's okay. We're not here to tell you what to do.
Yeah, exactly. You can do what you want, but
it's a venting tool. I see it as a venting tool a lot of times, KB.
But doom scrolling can be bad for your mental health, stuff like that. But do what you want to do. But this is what we should keep it in perspective, right? Keep it all in perspective. Look what this team has been able to do in 4 years. Jacksonville, losing to Jacksonville State. Look how low. Remember how low I remember that when Jarvis Brownlee got beat on that long pass against Jacksonville State was the lowest moment in our life, in my college football life, I should say. And Mike Norvell was at that press conference, said, we're gonna get the guys who want to be here and want to build this the right way, and it was hard for him, and how emotional he got at that podium, and how hard that season was, and how many guys he had. He didn't come in, just throw players out and transfer portal. He gradually rebuilt. He kept players like Kalen DeLoach and Akeem Dent and Toafili and built around the guys he could. Players had to go. Players had to leave. Transfer portal, recruiting. He did it the right way and built his back from 3-6 to 13.
I gotta interrupt you. Floyd, Floyd Treat. Thank you so much for joining the program here today. Thank you for supporting the program with your super chat, Floyd. And we appreciate you. We appreciate your comments, like we appreciate everybody in here.
Thank
This
you
is
all.
an
Thank
open program. We're going to air the people. We don't just air people we like who support our analysis or opinion. We put everybody up, and we try to get everybody up. So, Floyd, thanks for being a member of our family here at Seminole Sidelines 365. Thank you, Floyd.
Yes, thank you, Floyd. And thank you, everyone, for your opinions. Like I said, both sides. If you're not an FSU fan, if you are, it matters. And we'll take it with a grain of salt. If you're bashing Florida State, we understand it. But I do want to show appreciation for what this team has done, because I see today as the end of Florida State season. And I'm not okay with that.
Well, some people are not going to like you saying that.
Well, the Orange Bowl isn't real to me. And this is where this tweet, and that's why I want to put this tweet in perspective. This team achieved what my goals were: beat Clemson, beat Miami, beat LSU, and beat Florida. You overcame the Clemson bump. You finally beat them in Death Valley. You beat LSU. You dominated LSU, which doesn't get any respect anymore for whatever reason. When Jaden Daniels, who will probably win the Heisman Trophy, you basically kept him in check the entire game. Beat Florida, beat Miami, beat your in-state rivals, state champions again. Got the ACC title and won the title with your third-string quarterback. I don't know many coaches who would be able to pull that off, but you did it. And now you have the number 3 incoming class if you seal the deal. You could be potentially top 2 class if you do things the right way.
Yeah.
I want to put that is, you checked all my boxes, Coach Norvell. This staff, this team, this roster, they did it all. So I could give a shit about the Orange Bowl, like I said, time and time again.
Yeah, you and I, KB, don't always agree. We often disagree, but I agree with you. Now, Corey Hall here, I think this is an interesting comment. Mike needs to change. We can't win a game. We can't win playing this game, meaning the bowl game. Okay, we don't have anything to win there, really. Okay, except we beat a team, and then the other people will say, well, our players did, because if we lose, they're going to be validated.
Right here. It's this tweet right here.
If you lose, that the SEC said you didn't belong.
Yeah.
It's kind of this tricky media thing. And the media who loves the SEC will pile on that because we didn't play our NFL ready guys.
And if FSU wins, Georgia didn't want to be there. They were resting guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're in a no-win situation. So Florida State has to play this careful gray area, walking the line. But the best way to do that is come out, say the way we feel as a group. That has to be the president of the university. That has to be the AD. That has to be Coach Norvell. It has to be the ACC chief. That has to be those guys saying, we're going to play this game, but we're going to play it the way we want to play it, okay? And I'm not going to blame any player on Florida State who opts out. Where years past, I might have considered it because bowl games were already going that way, as you remember, KB.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we started seeing guys that were going to the NFL leaving, going out. Do you think Brock Bowers from Georgia is going to play in this, given his injuries that he had?
I would probably not. Probably not.
Why would Brock Bowers play in that shit?
No.
He'd be an idiot.
Yeah.
What else did he have to put on tape? Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
I mean, it makes no sense. So if we're going to play the game and they're not going to boycott it or whatever, then they need to be very upfront with people. This is why we're doing it. And the people are going to say, well, you're losers. You don't want to play to win and all this. We played to win. We won 13 games, and it did us no damn good.
Yeah.
We don't focus on going to the Orange Bowl or the Citrus Bowl or some toilet bowl. We don't do that. We're playing for national championships, and we did everything, and we couldn't get in.
Yeah. And Buckeyes for Life says it great.
You're getting me pissed off again here. That's what's happening with some of these comments, but we're going to air them.
Has nothing to do with which team deserves it. It should be who earned it. FSU is 12-0. They should be in the playoffs, and that's well said. Who earned it? Who earned the wins? Florida State earned the wins. Who earned the losses? Alabama did. Texas did. Alabama earned that loss. That loss to Texas.
How often do we hear next man up, KB? Next man up.
Yeah.
That you hear that is a buzz line in football and media all the time. Well, your quarterback's got to be next man up.
Yep.
Well, apparently, next man up and then next man up doesn't get you anywhere. if your starter doesn't play the whole season, you're screwed.
Yeah. Or
You are screwed.
Your quarterback just needs to get better during the course of the season in the case of Alabama.
Yeah,
Because he
right.
wasn't good in the beginning of the season, so that
Right.
loss doesn't count. That
So,
loss doesn't count because he wasn't as good.
So as Jordan Travis said, what did he say? I should have got injured earlier.
Yeah,
It would have helped. Yeah, it would have helped the
as he
team.
said, I should have broke my leg earlier in the
Yeah,
season. That's
yeah.
how sad this is.
It's
that
sad.
It's
It's
sad.
sick. It puts a sick feeling into your stomach. And we're not. Who was that said something? Well, you guys are just crybabies. Well, then turn the damn channel. We're telling it how it is. Okay, we're telling it how it is. We have a bias. We are Florida State people. Let's make sure everybody knows. We are Florida State sports. Look at the damn title. Seminole sideline 365. That's what we do.
I gotta address this guy. Florida State got what they deserved. Alabama will beat y'all by 50. Alabama couldn't even beat South Florida by 14.
Yeah, exactly.
They couldn't even beat Texas A&M by 6. Who Texas A&M lost to Miami. They couldn't beat Arkansas by 3, and Arkansas had 4 wins.
Yeah.
Are we sure about that? They couldn't beat Auburn by 3, and they had 4 or 5 wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's,
their quarterback is Superman now. You know, everything's good.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
Let's be careful. People have some warped memories of teams and what they look like. Remember, it's not how they played yesterday; it's how they play throughout the season. And I think that's what's wrong with this committee, is that they have a very what happened yesterday mindset, not what happened the entire year. What's the entire resume look like? That's the thing that I think screwed Florida State, and that's what's wrong with human judgment. So let's look at that Alabama schedule if you want to look at it. I just showed you the numbers. You can go look at the facts later on.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of good comments in here today. We've got people nationally coming in to address some of these issues. And I think KB, you made a very valid point. I mean, the only people that expanded playoffs benefit, why did we think we did that? It's to make more money. The NFL went to expanded playoffs, and they have teams that have 500 records get into the playoffs. Yep. I mean, it's almost unbelievable. But if we think the confusion and the chatter was big from fans this year, it's going to be horrendous next year. And the only people who benefit are the media people and TV people and the money people, the money bags, the accountants.
And you guys should also be concerned because how much bias is going to these conferences? Look at Michigan. You want to talk about strength of schedule, and people want to say how bad Florida State's was? Pull up Michigan's. They didn't play a ranked opponent until November 11th. Their coach missed 6 games because of various recruiting and
allegations. Look, allegations. Now, let's
how does Michigan earn the number 1 seed with this schedule?
And with the allegations, that's not a significant event.
And that's a sidebar conversation.
Because if they win, let's say they win out. If they win out, okay, could the title be stripped from them?
I don't. That could. But let's just talk about schedule. Why are no one talking about Michigan? Florida State had as many yards as they did offensively last night. They had as many yards. Why does Michigan get a free ride? Because they're in the Big Ten. Right? Once again, you want to see bias in action? Look at this. Look at the yardage. J.J. McCarthy, 147 last night. Total yards, 213. Florida State with a third-string quarterback had 220 yards of offense. Net offense. What? And Michigan's the number 1 seed, right? No one's talking about this, except for RG3 had a great. He discussed this. He brought up this point. But Florida State's penalized because they're missing their star quarterback. Michigan has their star quarterback, and they could barely put up yards. It blows my mind. It blows my mind that Florida State's the only one being penalized for box scores. These box score committee members aren't looking at things fairly because of the bias of conferences. And that's another warning to everyone in the ACC. And anyone who's not in the Big Ten and SEC, it should be. because you will not get a fair shot. You will not get a fair resume comparison.
This is just the beginning, folks. This isn't the end of the movie. This is the beginning of the movie for the future of what we call college football, or what we should call big money NFL light football, because that's what it is. I remember the days if a sports agent showed up on campus around a kid, that kid was screwed. That came out on Florida State's quarterback one time, on Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward did nothing wrong. Some sports agent sent one of his jabronis out to make some contact with him, and it blew up. Can you imagine today? NFL scouts just routinely visit practices to evaluate kids. This is a subordinate of the NFL, and it's being treated that way. So I love college football. I love college football more than the NFL. I rarely watch the NFL. Okay, I rarely watch much of that anymore. But this thing is in transition. This is the beginning, not the end. Florida State is unfortunately at the beginning of this process.
Yeah, and people, and once again, I'm still. You try to validate as a human being. I think.
And
you try
by the way, Michigan's coach is being interviewed now. Okay, I don't know if you can even pull that up.
I'm not pulling that up because I don't give a shit what Jim Harbaugh has to say.
Big Jim Harbaugh, is in there, and he didn't even attend 6 games on the field.
Oh, if we're gonna talk about Michigan,
that's an embarrassment to college football.
Well, remember what Stephen A. Smith said. He says, "Good thing Florida State didn't get in because we couldn't have another TCU thing happen." Well, TCU is the one that beat Michigan in the playoffs last year. So. Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith is an ass.
Why didn't Michigan get penalized then? Yeah. Because they're the one that got beat by a TCU team last year in the playoffs when they got blown out by Georgia in the championship game. So, it's all this revisionist history and how once again, the lens of the TV networks, comes across and those resumes start to look a little bit different, right? Those wins. Because when you look at the conference breakdown, the ACC performed 6-4 against the SEC in those head-to-head matchups, right? So it's, once again, the biases of how you stack conferences up. The SEC had losing records against the Big 12 and as well. So, I, as a human being, you try to look for validation behind human decisions, and you try not to assume that you're being screwed behind your back. And you try to think, well, was it because?
Hey, I got to interrupt you, KB. Demon Gamer 7 is back. He says, and thanks again for your support and just being here. Being here is enough, okay? But we appreciate your support. The FCS has a playoff system.
Yep.
I agree. Michigan has a worse schedule than FSU. Michigan wasn't excited to play Alabama.
Yep.
Very interesting, Demon. And again, we appreciate your support and your comment. What do you think of his comment?
I think you're right. I think, like you said,
his or her comment, I should say.
The playoff comment, the playoff for FCS has worked for a while, and like I said, I don't know all the rules behind like the selection committee, but they have an expanded one, which I think has worked pretty well. You don't hear a lot of controversy there. And to his comment, Michigan didn't look excited when they got the announcement. So this is when it was broken there when they got announced. This is them getting the news. You don't see a lot of cheering for them. So yeah, they are not too pumped to be playing Alabama either, because they know they haven't played anybody, right? They got a win over Ohio State, who doesn't have a great quarterback either. Once again, we're not talking about Kyle McCord and his performance at Ohio State this year, because it's one player, right? You could go over everyone's schedule with a fine-tooth comb and figure out what is wrong with these schedules. But if you win out, it shouldn't matter. If you beat good teams throughout the year and you win games and you don't get upset, that's mediocre teams.
Let's be honest. It does. If you win out, it matters. If you're not playing in a Power 5, it matters. Liberty's not going to be in the playoffs.
They're playing
now under an expansion. They're probably going to be in. If we were 12 teams, they'd put them in at number 12 or whatever the hell they'd put them in at. But that it does. But it just makes no sense.
Yeah, and like I said, I was saying before, And thank you again, Demon, for that. You try as a human to validate why decisions are made, and you don't want to think you're getting screwed or there's backhanded dealings and stuff like that. But you look at everything. You look at Michigan's schedule. You look at their quality wins. You look at Florida State's schedule. You look at who they beat, and you look at the factors that the committee looks at, and all these things. And I'm trying to look at this objectively too. I just don't. I don't see it. I still don't see it.
Well, we got Josh Dean here. Josh, thanks for coming in. Pac-12 fan here. FSU got screwed. Okay. What he's saying, though, is the narrative that the national media is pushing. I think that's the key words. We want everybody to think, okay? Let's get away from what team you support or don't support, hate, love, whatever. Think about what the hell is going on in the sport here. Think about what's going on here. And because we're the guy on the bubble this year, we're going to make this a point. We're going to make this a point. This is bigger than the game. This is bigger than the players now. Players who work their asses off, not only for the team, but, to play for something important. What do you tell them now? And this can happen to anybody. So we must think bigger than what we see on the field. And it's unfortunate. And Thanks, Josh, for for coming in.
Yep. So it's just hard. There's a lot of things going through your mind, and there's got to be a lot of things going on with the staff. And I don't know, but the biggest thing today, and I hope that we find out in the next week or so, is where do we go from here conference wise? What is Alford going to do? What does the timeline look like? What does legal action look like? Because I think this should, and I'm not a legal expert, don't hire me, but I feel like this should be used as evidence towards why, as Florida State be losing money staying in the ACC. They got set up, they are in some insane long contract with the ACC, which is losing their money year after year. And we all know this.
And they will lose money not getting into the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They can do everything perfectly and still not get in. I feel like that should be some legal evidence that says we are in some tipsy-turvy contract with the ACC that is actually killing our program, killing our university. Can we take legal action based on that alone? Like, is that some evidence that we can get? There's a loophole based on that, because you're not only losing money in the ACC based on just television revenue now, you're losing it based on playoff opportunities, on those additional national media playoff opportunities when you've done everything perfectly on the field. So once again, I wish I was better at the legal system, or if I understood the contract more. We've looked at the contract, we've looked at the clauses, the GL, grant of rights and stuff like that. We've covered that time and time again. But I think those are two biggest actions. Figure out how you get out of this contract in an accelerated time frame. And two, what do you do with the Orange Bowl? Those are really the only next things you can control at this point in time. Those are the biggest things you can control within this program. And outside of that, I don't know what else you do. You can't pout. You can't say, well, we can vent our frustrations today. We can be upset. But bitching about it for the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks doesn't change anything. It won't change anything about they're not going to let you in tomorrow, right? They're not going to review their decision. It sucks. But you have to start looking at actions that can change your future.
I think we've struck a bell here that at least some people are thinking about it.
Yeah.
They're thinking now about what should FSU's actions be. I think we've stirred something here among at least FSU fan base, and nationally, I see people supporting the idea of Florida State must go beyond just the written statements that were issued today.
Yeah.
Okay, and we understand. Life moves on after any adversity or tragedy. You get removed from a job, what do? And that, right? Is that your industry, KB?
We've all experienced that. I've been laid off, and you take the day.
And
you kind of have that day of like, this sucks, and you sit around in your sweats and you say, okay, and then the next day you hit the ground, 8 a.m. You start looking for a new, you start moving forward again. You start how do I get better? How do I get back on it? Right.
Okay, that doesn't mean you forget about the past. It means you take action on what has happened to you. You take action, reasonable, professional action to move forward. Yeah. Okay, but if you get sucker punched, and it doesn't knock your ass out. I hope you get back up and go after the person and have it out with them. I don't care how big they are. If they knock you down again, you keep getting up again. You just don't brush this off. This is not a brush off for Florida State University. That is our point, and that's what we're trying to communicate to people, including Florida State people. This is going to move forward. This is what I think is going to happen. We're going to put out, you're going to see a lot of stuff from FSU fans. You're going to see stuff from the administration and the sports program moving forward. The statements, which were pretty much what happens, came out from Norvell, came out from Ron DeSantis, the governor. I haven't seen anything from President of Florida State. The athletic director did put out something. I don't know if the ACC's, did they put out a statement yet?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so the statements are coming out. You would expect that. The next question is, does it end there and we all clap when we get the Bowl 6 thing, which should be coming up any second now? Oh, Saban's on the network now talking, okay, which everybody can see later some point, or multiple views, whatever. And of course, they're all justifying their positions, and everybody will say, sorry for your loss, Florida State. All these coaches are going to say that, okay? And I get that. They don't care. But they don't care. How many times have you gone to a funeral and you said, sorry for your loss? I once was at a funeral, KB, and I was partially responsible for setting up. One of the funeral directors walked away. They must have been new. And they went to their car. Then they came back. And you know what they said? Oh, sorry for your loss. Because they forgot to say it up front. It's empty words. They could give a shit less about your team. Okay, so you must protect your football team. The question is this week, how does Florida State handle this? Because these kids are going to get some time off away from football. How is the administration of the football program and Florida State going to handle this? It's going to be interesting to watch what they do up through the kickoff of the bowl game. They will accept a bowl game. There's no doubt. There's too much money involved. They're not going to turn it down, in my opinion. If they turned it down, would I be for them? Absolutely. I will support whatever they do, but I will also let you know my feelings about what they're going to do, like you will. They'll go to the bowl game, they'll work through that process, and then we'll see what happens. And I also expect some of their key players will not play, and I will support that action as well.
Absolutely. And, I'm just, we could keep talking about it. And
we're drained.
It's draining. And I think you're seeing I think you've learned a lot about who the honest media people are today. The ones who have the ones who ESPN has on a string, like a puppet, you'll see their statements pretty clear. The ones who are well taken care of, who have the money and get the check and are have their hands greased by ESPN very well, the Kirk Herbstreit, stuff like that. Their statements are pretty much copy and pasted, right? You'll see those pretty clearly. The best teams got in. I feel so, like you said, condolences to Florida State. Stephen A. Smith doesn't watch college football. Doesn't make any sense what he says. But then you will see a lot of prominent people who are willing to go out on a limb. The Booger McFarlands, who said RG3s. I've criticized RG3 up and down this season as a commentator. But what he said on that panel,
I kind of like him.
I know. We disagree. We disagree on that. But what he said today, the words he said today were I thought spot on. And you have guys like Mark Packer with his statement here today saying today's announcement by the committee has shaken his confidence in the overall process of college football. I mean, we've seen changes in college football with NIL, the transfer portal, in this. If you didn't think college football was forever changed from what you grew up with, it is now. And you will find out who the real media people are who are not afraid to say how it is, I think, in the next couple of days and a couple of weeks. Because you will find out the guys who are bought and paid for versus the guys who are willing to say, this is BS. This conferences, these playoff games are paid for by the networks. You will find out the people who are not afraid of that opinion. And you'll find out the guys who are just basically said by the networks, here, say this. These are the words. This is basically what you should say, Kirk. For how many weeks have we seen Saban on College Game Day and these coaches basically able to lobby for their teams the past couple of weeks? And Kirk Herbstreit, Tessitore last night, McElroy last night in the ACC championship game on ESPN, basically lobbying for Texas and Alabama for 4 hours straight.
Terrible. I had to turn down the volume.
These guys are...
They weren't even calling the game.
No.
Their job is to call the damn football game. They were lobbying about the playoffs and who they wanted in and that Florida State shouldn't be in. That was their whole lobby. It was disgusting. Disgusting to watch propaganda.
And these guys, you'll find out more and more this week, especially today, which guys are bond paid. It's no different than a politician.
You're exactly right.
No different than a politician. You'll find out who's bond paid for by the networks to say what they're supposed to say. And you'll find out the guys who don't give a shit or aren't on a payroll like that. The guys who are willing to stand down and say, I don't believe in this. This is BS. This is wrong. Regardless if you're a Florida State fan or not, guys.
Yeah, you gotta
doesn't matter.
That's right.
This could have been your team. This could be your team. Like I keep saying, next year as an
somebody's going to be number 13 and 14 next year.
Exactly. So it may not be you this year, but have empathy to say this could be us next year. And do we want to be on the revolving door of this if we're not in the Big Ten, we're not in the SEC, or we're struggling and we're not a big brand maybe in the SEC, or we're Iowa in the Big Ten, right? Iowa's not a big brand. They're a good team, but they're not a big brand. If they're in that ranking, they may get screwed. If you're in Indiana or if you're in Missouri, maybe you may get screwed because you're not bringing in money. You're not bringing in viewers, in my opinion. And I think that's where these teams, even in the Big Ten or SEC, have to be careful. They need to know who's looking out for them and who's not, because this could happen to you next season. I'll wrap it up there because I'm just.
Yeah, I think we're close. We're getting a lot of good comments in here from people all over the country. I mean, college football, is a great thing. It really is. But now it is so controlled. I don't know, when you go to a game now, the games, you're sitting so long that I don't know how teams even need 3 timeouts. They get like 10 because of TV timeout. A guy comes out on the field with this big board that all the teams can see. It has the time left in the commercial, 3 minutes, and it counts down. And then as soon as the 0 comes up, the referee just sits there and looks at it, and then he calls, run the clock. I mean, everything's TV. You don't even know what time the game's going to be, until a few days before the game itself for your planning purposes. They don't give a shit about the fan who's pumping money into this thing now. As a fan, you're asked to pump money in at all levels of these programs. I mean, it's crazy. When is the NFL going to start pumping money in? Because this is their personnel system.
So this is funny. So Bud Elliott he does this for every week. He's
respectable commentator across the board.
He's been doing a projected college football 12-team playoff every year, even though it's not till next year. And this is what he put out, and it has Ole Miss, Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon, Tulane, who's out of non-P5, Texas, Tennessee, Missouri, Michigan, Alabama, Washington, Penn State. And people are like, but you left Illinois. This is scheduled right graphic, old pal. But it's showing this is what the playoffs could look like. Or with some humor. Yeah. No ACC team. No ACC team champion. They, Oh, they just accidentally would leave them out. But
Yeah.
this is what it'll look like. A bunch of SEC teams.
Big Ten
a bunch
and
of Big Ten,
SEC.
and that's it. And then one at large. And then one at large team. And then maybe they just forget about the ACC, or maybe they add a clause where there's no ACC champion allowed. But I mean, this is coming to a season near. This is coming next year. Something just like this is coming. And if you're not
All
a
right,
big
keep
brand,
that up for a minute. I got to interrupt you. Hey, Charles Jones. Charles Jones, thank you for your support. Just being here is good enough for us. But we appreciate your support, your donation. And Charles says this: FSU's ACC media contract has an uncompetitiveness clause that could allow us to leave. Subpoena the college football playoffs backroom records, and you'll see the dirt and bias. Charles, I think, to me, that's very interesting, Charles. We appreciate your thought more than anything. There's a lot of crap that's going behind. That's why I was calling for a polling of the jury, a polling of the guys who made, who are these people and what was their stance so they can be held accountable. That's what we really want to see. So, Charles, that's a very interesting comment. Yes, and hopefully, due to this program, Florida State and others can use that. I mean, that's interesting.
If this is an evidence of, like you said, non-compete or non-competitive clause or not being able to compete at a national level, this selection alone is it. And then this graphic, like Bud Elliott put up, it's humorous, but this is going to happen.
Yeah, it's humor.
It's going to be all SEC, all Big Ten, one at large, that number 12 to be Liberty or Tulane. Or it could be the ACC champion and one more at large. Like the 12th seed could be Florida State next year. It could be Clemson. Like they are going to
maybe like basketball, we can have a play-in game. We could have a play-in game for number 13 and 14.
But this is
I mean, we went from high and emotions. Now we're kind of laughing about it. It's serious. Don't get us wrong. It's craziness that's going on here. But, I don't know. There's going to be a lot to come. I'm sure there's more changes coming to college down the road. I mean, we're not going to allow this for Florida State, at least, to be swept under the rug.
No.
If Florida State doesn't take some strong action somehow, I believe we're going to air it out. Yeah. We're going to air it out, and I think it's interesting to have these national comments coming in here because we got a lot of people in here across the nation.
I thought this was funny. Someone tweeted, "Watching Greg McElroy tell me a team can't overcome subpar QB play when the national championship is comedy gold." Yeah, Greg leading Alabama with some comedy gold when they won. So that is that is funny because Greg.
So
Greg
again,
was an awful quarterback.
Hey, hats off, Charles Jones. We appreciate you being here. We got another super chatter coming in. Demon's back. Demon's back. We appreciate you, Demon, and please join us anytime.
Yes.
We appreciate it. TCU and Baylor got screwed in 2014 for Ohio State. And I remember that. We remember that controversy. They were like 5-6, right? They were something like 5-6 in the 2014 because no conference championships game. FSU just needs to go beat some ass money, I guess, in Orange Bowl statements. I think he's trying to say just go down there and beat up one Georgia. I don't know, Demon. I understand your comment. The TCU and Baylor were the guys looking out the door. I think there's going to be some very interesting comments from Florida State fans about how they feel about this bowl game. And we're going to try to tap into those feelings going forward over the next 2-3 weeks here. So again, Demon, thanks a lot for your continued support, and just being here is great. We appreciate that.
And Demon, that's a great comparison. Because like you said, if you want to read about that, because I kind of forgot about that, but it was TCU, Baylor, and Ohio State.
And they both had high power offenses.
TCU was ranked 3rd going into the final weekend. Ohio State was 5 and Baylor was 6.
Was RG3 on that Baylor team?
I don't
Where did
remember.
RG3 play?
I don't remember.
I forget.
But TCU won 55-3 against a 2-10 Iowa State team, given that. But they dominated. Baylor won over number 9 Kansas State by 12 points. And then Ohio State won 59-0 with Cardale Jones, I believe it was, their backup. So, and then we know what the committee did. They picked Ohio State. TCU sank from 3 to number 6 with that win. They sank number 3 to 6. So once again, it's this absolute. So maybe we should have known that shit like this can happen, right? Maybe we should have known that the committee, a group of 12 individuals, can make garbage. Well, we know humans can make garbage decisions. They're bad at making decisions. But that's a great recall, Demon, because we forget that history repeats itself so often. And this right here is a case study of what kind of can happen. What we should have maybe seen coming, and we didn't. We took it for granted that if you take care of shit on the field, that it should take care of itself in the committee room, but it doesn't. As TCU saw it with Ohio State.
And you know, I haven't seen anywhere where that's a very transparent, they don't have the sunshine laws of transparency. So this week, I'm going to be very interested to see if there's accountability for the voting members. Is there a record? There must be a record. The question will be, is it a sealed record or is it a publicly disclosed record? If there's someone out there, they might want to do a... what is that word I'm looking for? A open disclosure law, maybe. Where did the committee meet? Was that in Charlotte?
I don't know.
Oh, no, not the committee. They didn't meet in Charlotte.
No,
what the hell am I talking
Charlotte.
about? They were down probably in Texas someplace. I don't even know where they met. The question is it an open and transparent record to the public that we can go back and look at comments? That is an interesting question.
But even the coaches are confused because even in this article back then, Gary Patterson, who was a coach at TCU, he says the rules seem to have changed when they got left out. In the beginning, I thought it was,
he was very
part
upset.
of it.
I
Now
remember.
we're looking at strength of schedules, who we play, championship games, and everything else. Is the committee just looking at tape or the 4 best teams? So even back then, the coaches were unsure about what the hell matters in the committee meetings. We still don't really know. They're just blaming on Jordan Travis and saying he's the reason when we all know that's bullshit. It's not his fault Florida State's not in. They're just looking for a goat to not let Florida State in. There is no transparency in this process. And when there's no transparency, bad shit happens. We all know that with anything, with any process. If there's not transparency, bad shit can go down. And it's and this is why I'm like, people used to hate the BCS process, but at least there was a damn formula around it. You may not have liked it, but at least there was some, I don't know.
Okay, this Bobby Hester, welcome to the program, Bobby, but come on, you're way the hell off here. Liberty went undefeated. Okay, we get that, and congratulations to Liberty as well, but they aren't crying. Okay, and they weren't on, they didn't have cameras sitting in their room. Yeah, come on now. Okay, respect to Liberty at the level. Liberty it's not even what I call a stepping stone program at this point. You're not going to hold any good players there. You're not going to hold any good coaches there.
Yeah,
they're all going to move on. Okay,
not gonna go
that's how you're a 3rd, 4th stepping stone program, Bobby. That's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah. So let's not get into that. But you would probably get into a 12 playoff expansion. They might. Okay, and then knock out somebody who really is a 1 or 2 loss team that would beat you up. Okay,
they're not.
My thoughts.
Yeah, they didn't play a single ranked team, so it's not even going to waste my time.
Yeah, a lot of national comments in here, KB. Now we've been on the air for I don't know, almost 2 or 3 hours. It's great. I enjoy it. I enjoy the chat. I don't know. Some people have said legal action. There's really no legal action you can take against the committee.
Well, that's what people are. That's what they're saying.
I don't think that's not possible. That's not going to happen. That's wasted money, in my opinion. It's better to take that money if Florida State is spending it and push it into getting out of the ACC. Because what we're all saying here is we're trending towards a mega conference.
No, we're already there. We're already there.
Yeah,
We're
but I'm
already
saying
there.
it's not fully built, KB.
It's
not fully built. The Pac-12 is pretty much out of existence, right?
Dead.
They're
It's dead.
dissolved.
It's dead.
They're out. So the Big Ten and the SEC. Will there be a third mega conference?
No.
The Big Eight. Is that possible?
What third mega conference? The AC. No one. It's the.
Okay.
No one
Okay.
respects the
Okay.
ACC.
Well, that's what I'm
Or the
saying.
Big 12.
So
Or
the
the Big
Big
12.
8 or the Big 12, I'm sorry,
No, Big 12's
they're not. ACC isn't. So everybody who's worth their salt must get to the two mega conferences, the Big 10 and and the SEC.
Yeah.
They're in such leveraged positions now. Can you imagine? They could make an application fee of $20 million just to come in. I mean, they're going to have the best teams knocking at their door. And if you don't get in there, you got problems. That's the bottom line, folks. If you're not in there, your program will be a stepping stone program. In phase 1, stepping stone, phase 2, stepping stone, phase 3. Liberty is like phase 10 stepping stone. That's where they're at.
Yep. So.
Okay. And I'm not, no disrespect to their players, their fans. It's the truth.
Yep. So yeah, I think that sums it up, and like you said, lawsuit's not going to do anything, but it may send a message. I think what one of the comments said earlier is like, I want to know what those notes were in the committee. Like what was actually transcribed and said, and how do they formulate their decision? I want to see those notes and I think there does need to be some light shown on the process so that we can understand how they came up with the decision. If you're so confident in how you came up with it, just show us the formula. Show us what it came up. Don't give me a 1-minute clip of you saying bullshit because.
Okay, I got to interrupt you. Joe Kish. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
1, for being here. 2, for sending your comment.
Yeah.
Let me read from Joe Kish. I don't know where Joe is in the country. Maybe he could be anywhere. Your anger at Michigan. That he's talking to us. Okay, Joe, and that's fine. Your anger at Michigan is misplaced. Be mad at the NCAA's bias for the SEC. Y'all are going to crucify Michigan for a scouting scandal while briefcases full of cash are being passed around the ACC. Now, Joe's probably making a valid allegation, a valid point, let's say, because it's been rumored, even back in the real days of college football, how all the deals flowed through the SEC, bags of money, under the table deals. Obviously none of these ever came to fruition, except there were a lot of stories, books written, stuff like that. Our anger is not so much at Michigan, Joe. This is my opinion. KB can speak for himself. Michigan has a lot of laundry hanging over their head, okay? I respect Michigan football, their long history of Michigan football. Bo Schembechler, I go way back to Michigan football days, and they're hard history to take down. They won a lot of big games. The Michigan State games. Remember, Joe, when that was a huge rivalry? I remember one of those big games. Oh my God, it was unbelievable. But listen, we are mad at the system and the way it's being conducted. And I think Jim Harbaugh, 6 games not on the sideline. There's something going on there. Something went on. The NCAA is still investigating, and that investigation won't be completed till this season's over with fully. So it's going to be very interesting. But I appreciate your comment. KB, weigh in on Joe.
Yeah, so Joe, I think you make some sense there. The reason I I point out Michigan stuff is because people say Michigan would wax Florida State, which I don't think is true. That's the reason I bring up their schedule. That's the reason I bring up
We've beaten
their resume.
Michigan before. We have a good record.
And I'm not going to talk about 5 years ago when we beat them. But that's why I bring up Michigan stuff and say.
I bet you Joe remembers, though, when Bobby Bowden took the Seminoles to Ann Arbor and took down Michigan. Go ahead.
But you're right. He's right. Joe, you're right. We shouldn't be mad at the teams who got in. We should be mad at the process. We should be mad at the people. We should be mad at the decision makers, the networks, the Kirk Herbstreits who just basically lobbied for Florida State not to get in. The people who said the committee did a great job, I tip my cap to them as well, like Kirk Herbstreit said, like a maniac. So you're right. You're right. Michigan did their job. They won out. They did the same thing. They won out. They took business on the took care of business on the field. They won out, right? So you're right in that perspective. But I do have to defend Florida State when people say Florida State would get waxed by Michigan or Michigan's schedule is better than Florida State. That's not, that's where I'll defend them and bring those things up. But to your point, you are right. We should be mad at the process. We should be mad at the decision makers. We should be mad at the networks who made this today. Michigan didn't kick Florida State out. Those people did. So on that point, I totally agree with you. You have a great point there. And it's not like I have no hate against Michigan or any of the teams that got in. I'm pissed at the process, not the people, not the players or the coaches or anything like that of any of those teams. It's the process I'm pissed about. So you're right on that. You're right on that. And here is I want to bring up just because I have just some of this. Bring up Kirk Herbstreit's little comment here. Just to get it out there, so we're being transparent.
Let's get Kirk in quickly. Kirk, when you've heard these discussions and these arguments, there's a lot on Florida State's side, from winning against the SEC to the ACC success against the SEC. Is this simply a case where had Jordan Travis not been hurt, or to be fair, let's say Tate Rodemaker had really put up some numbers offensively in the Florida game, so you had a little more data to support that Florida State would be competitive, that this would be a no-brainer decision and the Seminoles will be in. And this all centers around the established criteria by the committee that they evaluate injury.
Well, you'd have to ask Boo that when he hops on here in a couple minutes. But I think all of us I think if Tate went out and lit it up, it'd be a lot like what Cardale Jones did for Ohio State. I think the committee evaluated based on what they saw. And by the way, what Florida State did at the Swamp was impressive. I called that game. That was a tough environment. Yeah. I don't care what Florida's record was. That game was impressive for them to be able to get out of that game with a backup quarterback. But when you're looking at what they did the last two games and you're evaluating
last two games.
Yeah, so well, why couldn't the committee evaluate that there's going to be a 3-week delay here? Tate Rodemaker, who did an impressive job at Florida, which Kirk just said, he'll be back under the snapper. Okay, he'll be taking the snap. So how does that change then? And we were able to put another quarterback in there and still win the damn game. And we beat the spread 10 times the spread.
And the committee had Florida State at number 4, knowing Tate was going to start that and won that game going into this week.
They went all the way down to the third guy, a freshman. This is nothing against Mike Norvell. I think we all are proud and so happy to see that Florida State brand back from where it was 3, 4, 5 years ago to where it is now. It has sustainability, and it's going to be around with Mike, and they're going to do a great job. To me, if you took J.J. McCarthy off of Michigan, we'd be saying the same thing right now about Michigan.
No, they wouldn't, because no offense to Michigan fans or anything. If J.J. McCarthy only threw for 120 yards yesterday. No offense to Michigan. That Michigan team is good. They have a great running back, Blake Corum. Very good defense. J.J. McCarthy didn't have to start yesterday's game, I don't think, to beat Iowa. And they're number 1 seed. They could have started their backup, and I think they're absolutely still in. Let me know if you disagree. And that's why I think that's a bullshit statement by Kirk Herbstreit.
If you took Michael Penix off of Washington the last 2 games and they were struggling with a backup quarterback, we wouldn't be looking.
Yeah, I get
that. That's true, because Washington was struggling before the Oregon
game.
They were struggling to win games.
Here's the deal. If you're going to lose your starting quarterback during the season, KB, you better lose him early. So you can, because if you lose your starting quarterback late and your production offensively drops off, you're in trouble of making the playoff scheme. That's what it's going on here.
The issue is that everyone assumed that when Jordan Travis went down that they would lose the last 2 games, and they didn't. They didn't lose to UF, and they didn't lose to Louisville. That's what the playoff committee was banking on, that Florida State would lose and they would make things easy. And that's why this statement's bullshit.
Looking at the totality of Washington's season, we'd be looking at the last 2 games. You have to look at the last couple games without the heart.
That's why that statement doesn't make any damn sense. Because if you look at Washington, what they did the last few games of the season, they struggled with their starting quarterback in.
Listen to this comment. This is interesting. This is interesting by Eric Register. Even Paul Feinbaum said that the field stuff pertaining to leaving the ACC probably contributed to being left out. I don't know what the hell that means, but let me say this about Paul Feinbaum. He's kind of interesting to listen to, but he's an SEC guy.
Yeah,
he's totally paid for by SEC money. That's what he is. So I don't even know what the hell that comment means.
And back to Kirk Herbstreit's comment about Washington if they had their starter out. So they win by 2 against Oregon State on the road. Washington State, they win by 3. Penix struggled in that game. USC, a terrible defense, only win by 10. Stanford, 9. Like, this argument, if their starter was out, I mean, Penix is a very, very, very good quarterback. But once again, there were some barn burners. Utah's 4 losses on the season, 7-point win there, 3-point win here, 3-point. So I hate this revisionist history that if it would have happened, they would have been out. If Florida State had it happen, they still won. They still finished the season wrong. They still beat a top 15 team in Louisville.
We've got about 2 minutes left in our broadcast, KB, and first during the final few minutes here, I want to thank everybody who's joined us.
Yeah,
everybody. I mean, we are a program that will air comments, and we will air ones. We don't just pick the ones. We try to get everybody up, no matter what your opinion is, and we want everybody to come back and join us. Yes, we are pro Florida State. We make no bones about it. Okay.
We also criticize Florida State when they suck.
We criticize them when they need to be criticized. I'm a Florida State graduate. I'm also Colorado graduate as well. KB doesn't like that, but that's what we do. But we're here. We appreciate the support, the super chat support as well. We don't expect it, but we appreciate that very much. We don't ask you to subscribe. We ask you to hit that like button. We don't ask that a lot. People say, you guys should ask that more. Hit the like button for us if you would. Subscribe. Hit that bell so you'll know when we're in the air. We're going to be talking a lot of things Florida State. We're going to be talking things nationally as well. And we're going to follow up on stories. We don't let stuff drop.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Did you get the most? Did you get this one?
I'm getting it up now, buddy. Yep. I'm getting it up now. We got another super chatter in the room. The most awesomest. I like that. Awesomest Chris. FSU had more total yards on offense yesterday than Michigan did. And KB has pointed that out, Chris. Not talked about that.
Yeah.
Why? SEC Big Ten. Because, Chris, they don't want to talk about that.
It's a lens. It's the lens.
They're not bringing up anything. The cheating scandal thing has gone somewhere else. Jim Harbaugh not being on the sidelines. Is that good for college football? 6 games out. It wasn't a health condition. Michigan accepted responsibility by taking the penalty. That means that's a no contest in a legal system.
And they're not going to talk about it.
The investigation continues.
These guys are bought and paid for. They're not going to talk about it, Chris. It's that lens, that Big Ten, SEC lens. It doesn't matter. The resumes look different when you have the lens on, right? They don't see that. They don't make RG3 is the only one I heard bring it up on the broadcast today on ESPN. Once again, some of these guys get their scripts. Kirk Herbstreit gets his script, reads it out, gets his check, right? Then you have some other guys who are still trying to make it, still trying to build their brand, don't care, aren't on the strings, and they'll say what they want to say. And
I'm wondering, KB, what about Booger McFarland? He's been all supportive of Florida State.
Exactly,
he's been very strong. The question is he playing a part? Is he reading part of the script
I don't think he gives a
or
shit.
is he going to get booted out of his job?
either way, I respect him because he said it. He said,
well, he's a player perspective too.
Exactly, and what you've noticed.
Chris
is
Fowler wasn't a player perspective. Now Kirk Herbstreit played at Ohio State.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I respect the guys that will tell it like it is and not go along the company line and where the checks are. And so I respect guys like Booker and RG3 who have said it like it is and they have brought up these facts like the Michigan yardage facts and stuff like that. Once again, I'm not going to debate Michigan in or out, but these are things that aren't being discussed openly on these ESPN panels.
Yeah, and we do. We do on this channel. We discuss everything, whether it's Florida State or nationally. We're going to debate it, and KB and I don't always agree, but you guys don't always agree with each other.
I'm not mad at Michigan. I'm not mad at Alabama. I'm not mad at those players and those coaches. I'm mad at the people who made the decisions, the process, the committee.
And we want to know what that process is.
Exactly.
We want transparency.
Exactly.
We want and Florida State should demand transparency. If they want to take legal, get transparency.
It's just
legally.
like the NCAA.
Legally.
We don't know what goes on with the transfer review waiver process. All these organizations work in the They all work in the shadows.
Yeah, well,
there needs to be light shown on these things because when you go to 12 teams next year, it's going to get even murkier. There needs to be. They should have to publish all their decision making. It should be documented. There needs to be accountability. There needs to be transparency.
Chris, thanks a lot. Chris, thanks a lot for your continued support. Welcome to the Seminole Sideline 365 family. We got another one. Charles Jones. Charles is back with a super chat. Charles says, perfection in the ACC can't compete with EDPNs. I guess he means ESPNs and the college football playoff bias for SEC Big Ten. Gotta leave the ACC. Charles, you're beating the same drum, buddy, with the same stick we are, and you need to keep beating that drum, Charles. You let people in the know. Fans out there should know you can make a difference more than arguing with guys on Twitter. Call the ACC office. Call the commissioner's office. Let them know how you feel. Call Florida State's administration. Let them know how you feel and you support, but you want strong action taken. You want something done beyond just statements released today. Okay? That would be very good. So, Charles, welcome to the family here. We appreciate your support and loyalty here. We appreciate it very much.
One thing to point out, too, and thank you again for that. I'm looking at some of the statement that Corrigan on the committee made. He said that Jim Grobe, former Wake Forest coach and head coach there, placed Alabama over Florida State on his ballot. Corrigan is quoted as saying, I think it's one of the questions that we do ask is from a coaching standpoint, who do you want to play? Who do you not want to play? And as we go through that again, looking at where we are today, it's not where we were 3 weeks ago, or 8 weeks ago. Who do they want to play and who do they not want to play? They've got significant voice in the room and they want to go through that. We went around and around.
Well, how do you get into
came back
minds?
again this morning to do it again and again. We came back with the top four as you and Florida State is at 5.
Yeah. How do you get in? Well, who does this team want to play? Who does this team want to play? That's bullshit. Come on. I mean, that's bullshit.
This part about Jim Grobe being one of the head coach committee members that placed Alabama over Florida State.
And I kind of like Jim Grobe, to tell you the truth. I thought he was a good coach.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Once again, this is like circular logic. Who do you want to play, not want to play? Once again, they're talking in these big words.
They're trying to justify now. The committee is going to put out all the statements.
This is word salad.
That justify. They're picking fruit. Where's the comments from people who disagreed with them? How many people on the committee disagreed with their decisions? Where are those statements, KB? Who are those people who disagreed with this? I want to know what the vote was. I want to know who voted. I want to know exactly what their votes for. Florida State needs that accountability, and they should pursue that. And the ACC should pursue that with them. Failure to get that accountability is going to leave me with a very bad taste.
And what this says here is that, they talked about, once again, you can lose a receiver, but a quarterback as dynamic as George Trout, it changes their offense entirely. And it was a big factor with the committee when we went through everything. So once again, in the day and age of NIL and the transfer portal, no team in this day and age has 2 starting caliber quarterbacks in my mind, unless you hit the jackpot in recruiting and get a high 5-star sitting behind, which is very, very hard to do. When Ohio State did with Cardell Jones, I mean, they had Braxton Miller, I believe, who was hurt. They got Cardell Jones. I mean, they hit the lottery with that. But that wasn't the day of the transfer portal when you could leave as a freshman or a sophomore. They were recruiting like madmen. Credit where credit's due. But in this day and age, it's tough to get 2 quarterbacks who are very talented on the roster because they don't want to sit. They can go anywhere. 3 is a lottery. It's like if you can do that. That's what they're basically telling you. If your starter gets hurt for the season, imagine if Jordan Travis had got hurt in week 2 or week 3. The season would have been essentially over, even if they would have won out. Because they're saying, well, you lost your best playmaker on the team. Even if you win out, your year's done. That's what they're telling you now. If next year, J.J. McCarthy or Quinn Ewers at Texas, if he gets hurt early and is out for the season, your season's over because you lost your most dynamic playmaker. Or if you're not averaging as many points as you were with him at quarterback, you're not the same. You're not as good. Even if your defense is a top 4 defense. And then you have the word salad about who does this team not want to play? Who are they scared to play?
That's ridiculous.
So it's all bullshit and word salad. It doesn't mean anything. It's I don't want to get riled up again because it's not worth it. Once again, we all know it's
okay.
It's
We're gonna go on to 3:15 and then we're gonna cut it off. You guys need a break. And we're gonna, it's fascinating.
Let's go to 3.
It's a fascinating day. It's a day of high emotions. I've had very high emotions. I've followed this team, KB, since the '60s on an AM transistor radio. I was at Florida State as a student before Bobby Bowden arrived. In 1973, I went through an 0-11 season. Florida State almost dropped football program. They went out. They hired Bobby Bowden after we had 3 coaches in and out. We had Dr. Darrell Mudra. He was the head coach. He coached the game from the press box. That was his method. 3 coaches. We were out. Bobby Bowden came in. He took his team on the road. He beat Michigan. He beat the Ohio State. He beat Notre Dame. He'd go anywhere. You know why? It was about money to build the program, and he also knew he would bring in recruits who wanted to play those people. But we translate to today. Mike Norvell has taken Florida State from the ashes of Jimbo Fisher through COVID and through social issues in the country and Willie Taggart and put this program back to where it needs to be and all that work that has gone in. And he has some unlucky breaks when his Jordan Travis goes down. He puts pieces in to fix it, comes out 13-0, wins the ACC title, and gets screwed in the end. It's got to be a very bad day also for Coach Norvell, staff, and players. This staff and players, as we know it today, KB, will not exist in 2024. We will lose players, we will gain players, and we will lose coaches. And we will lose what this team was.
I don't want to focus. Why are you,
okay, I'm just saying that's where we are. That's where we are. And it's hard. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow for FSU fans. All right?
Yeah.
Very much so.
So I'm going to end it. I just want to focus on thank you all for being here, for your comments, whether you're for or against Florida State. We appreciate it. We appreciate everyone's opinion and their time. But I do want to go out and I do want to once again celebrate this team and what they did accomplish. Because like I said, I don't give a shit what the playoff committee says. I don't care what talking heads like Kirk Herbstreit and Fowler and what these talking heads, these paid shills for ESPN say and what they're handed to say. This team went out and they did
what balled out, man.
They were given a 17% chance of winning the ACC this year. No one expected them to do it. No one respected them enough to do it, and they did it. They won the ACC. They went undefeated. They beat Clemson and Death Valley. They beat LSU, dominated LSU, They had the balls to schedule LSU back-to-back seasons, beat them in New Orleans the year before, beat them in Orlando this year, held Jaden Daniels, who's probably going to win the Heisman, to his lowest output the entire year. Beat Miami, beat Florida, state champions, dominated Louisville in Charlotte with the third-string quarterback, 18-year-old who was out half the year injured. I mean, I don't know what more you would want from this team. They played their asses off, did it the right way, represent the university with class. Every kid on this team did everything you would expect from them. And you should be proud. Every Florida State fan should be proud of this team and what they've accomplished and what they will accomplish, whether it's at the Orange Bowl, in the NFL, at the next level. You should be proud of it. So I'm disappointed. I'm excited for I'm excited for the future of this team, whether it's in college football next year, at the NFL level, because we will see many draft picks on this team. I am expecting it based on how they played the last few weeks of this season. And so I'm mad, I'm disappointed, I'm frustrated, but I'm also proud, and I'm appreciative of what this team gave us this season. And that's how
I want to wrap it up with this. I can't remember if you read this statement before. Maybe you did. Maybe you heard him say it. But I'm going to read it because it kind of summarizes my feelings. Whether you like the guy or not, Robert Griffin III, commentator, put this out on Twitter, and it kind of summarizes a lot of what we've been saying before we go off the air here today. Once again, I want to appreciate all our support to all our fans, our family of fans that are here with us all the time. We appreciate it. This is probably our longest show ever, and it deserves us to be here. Robert Griffin said just an hour or so ago, Florida State is the first undefeated Power 5 conference champion not to get in the college football playoff. Despite the ACC having a 6-4 record against the SEC this year. Despite their defense, we didn't get in, he's saying. Despite our defense not giving up 30 points in a single game all year. Despite our offense, FSU, having more yards in the ACC championship than Michigan had in the Big Ten championship. Despite holding Louisville top 20 offense, who was ranked number 14, to 6 points. Despite beating 4 top 25 teams. Despite finding a way to win with their backup quarterback in a bitter rivalry game. Despite finding a way to win with a third-string quarterback in the ACC championship game. Florida State earned their spot in the CFP on the field, with or without Jordan Travis. You don't punish or diminish the work of 100-plus players and coaches because one player is not there on the field calling the shots. All right? FSU always answered the bell this year, and their response to losing their quarterback was to play possessed on defense, playing lights out on defense. It's an absolute travesty that they were excluded. That is so well written and summarizes our feelings as we go off the air today. Yep. Well said by RG3, no matter what you think of him as an announcer. He wrote that. You don't write that many words without feeling the passion for that. That's a player position on what has happened to this team.
Yep, absolutely. Well
and
said.
To this fan base.
Absolutely. And yeah, there's a lot of comments in here, and this is what I hope doesn't happen. Top ACC players need to portal contenders. This is what we hope doesn't happen. Michigan versus the world. This is what Florida State needs to avoid by getting out of this goddamn conference. Because if it doesn't get out of this conference, this is what will happen. Florida State will lose players if they don't get out of this conference.
That's a great comment. Yeah. That is a great comment from the Michigan versus the world. Players will leave these other programs.
Including Florida State. Florida State.
Including Florida State. Florida State could lose their head coach or other coaches because they know the future. Listen, the future is in the mega conferences.
Absolutely.
I don't care what team you support or what teams you hate. Objectively speaking, you have to be in the mega conference. Failure to do so is doomsday. Absolutely. Is a doomsday event. You will be a stepping stone program.
Absolutely.
Period.
So I believe this administration, Alford, Norvell, that hopefully they got their heads down. work with some lawyers, and we're getting out of this. But like I said, like you said, proud of this team. They can't do anything about the decision. They were in that room, but they did everything on the field right. They battled against adversity, did everything the right way, represented the university well, and I'm proud as hell for these guys, this coaching staff, and everything. And we move forward. So, y'all have a great day.
There's my
day.
champion right there.
Thanks again, state champions, ACC champions. And we move on from there, guys. Great season. So thank you all for coming by, for your opinions, your comments. Sorry we couldn't get through all of them. I'm not looking at comments half the time or be able to pull them up on getting other articles up. But thank you guys for coming by. We appreciate you all.
And KB, we have to say, we didn't even cover the Louisville game. We may in the future, here in the next couple of weeks, we'll be on the air. Hit that bell. You'll know if you like kind of what we do, you like our interaction with you guys, just hit the bell. You'll know when we are. And we love having you guys here.
And we'll be talking about the Louisville game, but what the future of quarterback looks like on Florida State, because I think we figured out that we may need to explore the portal potentially for a quarterback situation. But we'll debate about that for next season. But thank you again.
Let's not go down this. But we do ask these tough questions that some other sites will not cover, and that's what we do. You can like that or not, but that's what we do.
And let's just say, we'll be frustrated about this, but I'm not going to cry about this being left out for the next 4 weeks. We'll be frustrated. We'll bring it up when news is, but I'm not going to cry about this for the next 4 weeks. This program's better than that. We'll move on. We'll keep fighting. We'll move forward. We're bigger than this. We'll get better from it. Let's go on. But we will fight it, whether it's boycott, whether it's legal, whatever it is. I know we'll do the right thing. So thank you again for your time, your comment, the super chats. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for super chatting it. We appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Have a great week next week. And we will see you all soon. Enjoy the day. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends, your pets, whatever it is. And y'all, we'll see you soon. Have a great one. Go Noles.
Go.